Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I first of all would like to say thank you to all of my subscribers and those who watch my videos. Please do not hesitate to leave your comments in the comment sections once I'm done, or you can participate in this live. But usually, when I'm doing a live, it's just kind of like a live taping. So sometimes I'm on here talking to myself. Sometimes I have a couple of people listening, and that is okay. Because one of the things I do notice is that once my live is done and people have the opportunity, when they have the opportunity, they watch my videos. I don't have a huge following and I'm not on here often. So I don't get a lot of views because I don't do this full time and I'm not on here to make money. I just simply like to discuss issues and topics that interest me and also try to bring to light, bring into some people into the light of how I see things. So, as you can tell by the title of my live today, nursing, are you a weak link in nursing plus some light teaching? So I was in these YouTube streets this morning, and I came across a couple of nurse videos, and I wanted to um, review them, and of course, give my commentary, and in addition, do some light teaching. I think today's live, not I think, I know today's live will enlighten some nurses if they do get the opportunity to um, watch my live because the way I see things and the things that I'm hearing from nurses in all different areas, skilled nursing, hospital. When I do watch the home health videos, the nurses they just love it. They just love it. So I really don't have a whole lot to say about the home care nursing. But as far as skilled nursing and acute care nursing hospital, these nurses are in distress. And I'm going to tell you the number one reason is lack of structure. Um, there's just no structure anymore in the nursing field. A lot of things have been translated to bullying. Um, it has been translated to nurse abuse. I can see the nurse abuse, but bullying, I mean, I really don't. I don't look at nursing in a bullying fashion. I look at nursing as if you have your stuff together, you won't feel like you're being bullied. Be When you feel like you're being bullied, it's usually because a nurse is trying to bring something to your attention and you feel some type of way because you don't know, because you haven't taken the time to learn and become an educated, well-rounded, effective nurse, which takes time in all fairness. But when you are in a position of supervision, a position of authority, there is no such thing as bullying. What it is I'm trying to save this patient's life, and I'm also trying to save your license. And in addition, I'm trying to save the facility from getting tags, plus stop patient and family complaints, right? Now, I know some nurses interpret situations on the job as bullying, but I'm going to tell you it's due to a lack of structure if you are feeling bullied. And throughout my nursing videos, you are going to hear me say that the number one person responsible for all the things and issues that are going on within these establishments, facilities, nursing homes, hospitals, is the direct or indirect actions of the director of nursing. I cannot stress enough that the director of nursing is the head of nursing for the is the head of the nursing department for a reason, because she is there to provide structure, maintain control, prevent bullying if you're feeling that way, and also ensure that the residents are taken care of like they're being paid to do. So, my first video is a nurse. She's on her video and she's saying that she quit her job as a as an ER nurse after only 3 months, right? And there are a lot of videos where nurses are saying they quit their job for various reasons. I can't say that this one stood out to me for any particular reason, but I felt that it was an opportunity for me to do a teaching moment when it comes to some of the things that she's describing on her video, in her video. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're just going to get right into it and we're going to listen to what's going on. Okay, let's go. Oh, let me make it big so we can really hear what she's saying.
Whole entire ER. And this was a busy night in the ER. I'm like, what the heck is this? Okay. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Coco here. And in today's video, we are talking about how I quit my toxic job as a nurse in the ER. And yes, I quit after only 3 months because it just was that crazy. Okay, so make sure to stay tuned all the way to the end of the video and make sure to grab some tea as we get into the tea. Okay, and just kick your feet up, sit back and relax, and let's get all the way into it. So I started working in the ER. At this point, I had been a nurse for about a year and a half. Before this job, I initially worked actually in oncology. So I was like, I loved working in that area also. It was very rewarding, obviously very, challenging to see, but very rewarding. And I was like, you know what? I want to get some more experience. I want to like branch out, kind of advance my skills, broaden my skills, and everything like that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go work in the ER. So,
Okay, I'm just going to stop right here because I want to make a point. I want to make a point. So Coco said that she worked in oncology. She'd been a nurse for a year and a half, and she worked in oncology, and she wanted to branch out, so she decided to go and work in the ER. Now, you know, as you guys, as I say in a lot of my videos, research is very, very, very important when you're talking about going into new areas. So for me, when I did my bachelor's degree and when I did my master's degree, I researched first, right? I did some research. I didn't just jump right into the first college. I didn't just, you know, sign up and didn't look into it. So my first bachelor's program, I didn't. I switched. I switched schools because I was misled by by the school. I'm just going to say the school because the person I spoke to was responsible for giving me the information that I need. However, anyway, that didn't work out. So I researched another school, matter of fact, a whole slew of schools I researched and came upon Capella University. Before I even called Capella University, I looked at their bachelor's program. I was actually going to just go from RN, ASN to master's. So I looked up the master's program, and they give it to you. They give you each nursing course that you're going to have to do, right? So I researched that. I looked at them. I kind of dug into them. Looked into what each of the courses meant. Looked at um, some of the look, pretty much looked at the direction of the program. So when I ended up giving all of my previous college transcripts to the school, I had one that was pretty much holding me back from starting the program. So I decided, I said, hey, I need this one class to get into the master's program. It is holding me back. I'm ready to start. So the bachelor's program, I didn't need that class. So I said, let me go ahead and start the bachelor's class. But before I started the bachelor's, I went and I looked at each nursing course that was required. What was the topic? Um, what was some of the things that was going to have some of the work that was going to have to be done. I was able to do that because they give it to you. So I just went ahead and signed up for that and finished the bachelor's and then went right into the master's after a couple of months. So I'm saying this to say that whenever you're deciding to branch out into uncharted waters or uncharted areas, you might want to do a little bit of research first to see some of the pros and cons, some of the things that you may or may not like. I always look at some YouTube videos. They had YouTube videos on Capella University. Um, you know, if you're deciding you want to go into home health, go on YouTube. They got home health videos. If you decide that you want to do ER, they got ER nursing stories. They got skilled nursing stories. They have all the areas of nursing. Just go on YouTube, and the nurses are pretty. They're very honest about their experiences and what's going on. And do this. I wish I knew this before I became an ER nurse. I wish I knew this before I became a registered nurse. I wish I knew this. Lots and lots and lots of information out there. So my point is that whenever you decide that you want to branch out into an unknown area, you might want to do a little bit of research first to see if it's going to agree with you, or just to have that uh, needed, pertinent, basic information about what you'll be getting yourself into. And then you can put together a plan and possibly navigate through what's going on and then say, hey, I tried it. I don't like it. Um, but doing research, you might have a better experience. So anyway, let's continue. Do your research.
I went to a job fair, literally got offered the job kind of the same day. And I was like so excited because for me, I like things that are fast paced. I'm a quick learner. You know, if you teach it to me, you show me the right way, like I'm going to learn it, I'm going to pick it up. And I don't mind, working. I don't mind like if it's a positive work environment and, I'm giving back, I'm helping other people, like I'm all here for it. So I was excited for this. And I started working at this ER, and the very first issue is that I'm assigned this preceptor from where. Like this girl was evil. Like she was so rude. And I tried to chalk it up to the fact that, well, this is an intense area that I'm working in. It is the ER. I've never worked in this specialty, and I don't. So I can't expect to be, like babied or, to be like besties with the preceptor. But no, like this was like beyond that. Like this girl was just, she was miserable and she was projecting that onto me. Like she literally, if it didn't have to do with a patient, she was not speaking to me. Like if it didn't have to do with like one particular case, like anything outside of that, like she was not speaking to me. And while yes, I understand that, you should be very professional about the patient, like, um, it's a very serious job. So being serious, not expecting you to like play around or anything, but like at the same time, you should be able to be cordial with your preceptee. Like,
Okay, I'm gonna stop right here because here's the thing. Even though we're women in nursing, right? Sometimes you're going to get that nurse that, listen, I'm not here for all that. I'm not here to be buddy buddy. I'm not here to discuss things that have nothing to do with nursing. I'm not here to be best buds. Number one, I don't know you. Number two, I don't know what you know. Number three, this is an emergency room. We need to be focused on what's going on in this environment. We need to be focused on these patients. This is an ER, which means emergency. Emergency, which means as nurses, we need to be prepared to respond in an emergency. The smallest the small talk is what will cause you to lose a patient. The small talk will cause you to miss something. The small talk will distract you from what's important, and that is carrying out the nursing functions in the department for the residents and the residents' safety. So, a lot of times, these women, they're coming on these units in these facilities and they're looking for best buds. Not everybody wants to be your BFF in nursing. Some people want to get in here, get the job done, and go home. If you want to BFF in nursing, I don't know what to tell you, but I do know that as a nurse in a stressful job, in a stressful career, you should have some type of support system outside of work, right? Me personally, I can't manage your emotions and manage the patient's emotions. You're an adult. You are supposed to be able to manage your own emotions. If you can't do that, you're supposed to have at least about three lifelines you can go to. Maybe your husband or your boyfriend, your mama or your grandma, your sister, your brother or your auntie, or your BFF outside of nursing, right? That is supposed to be your support system. I do not come to work, and I know this might sound mean, but it is what it is. I do not come to work to manage another nurse's emotions. If you do not have control over your emotions, you need not be in this career because this is a very intense emotion career. And I don't care where you're working. I don't care if you're working home health. I don't care if you're working skilled nursing. I don't care if you're working in a hospital. I don't care if you're doing a specialty. I don't care if you're in cardiac unit, oncology unit, ICU. The the emotions just from the patients and the patients' families are enough. I should not have to come to work to manage another nurse's emotions. As a matter of fact, that is the director of nurses' job, right? Um, it could be a part of the supervisor's job. However, right, as a nurse, no one should have to manage your emotions. You should be able to manage your own emotions. If you're feeling like you can't, you're having some emotional issues, don't come to work. Don't come to work because it's draining. It's so draining. Trying to take care of another grown person who's supposed to be stable and functioning in the mind, and a psych nurse. Um, she's supposed to be able to manage her emotions. She's supposed to be able to manage herself. You don't come to work to help manage your personal life. You come to work to get help to manage your patients, right? I know sometimes it becomes emotional trying to deal with patients. It becomes emotional when you don't know what to do, what steps to take. Okay, but that's why us other nurses are here. That's why your supervisor is here. That's why your DON is supposed to be a lifeline when it has to deal with nursing issues, right? You are not supposed to let your emotions get the better of you while you are at work. Keep it professional. And then we don't know, maybe that ER nurse has had experiences with other nurses to where when she tried to be their BFF, she stabbed him. She got stabbed in the back, or maybe she had to turn a nurse in. So maybe she felt that the best direction for her to go in is to keep it 100% business and leave the politics, for the politicians, right? This is this is another thing that kind of gets to me. It kind of triggers me. Selfishness in nursing, right? They don't give you a chance. They're selfish. They come in and it's all about them. So me, 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 me. Never taking into consideration some of the things that you may have gone through in nursing, right? However, it's irrelevant to what you've gone through. The point is that be considerate and thoughtful that maybe another a nurse is carrying themselves this way because they've been burnt. Get out your feelings and get in nurse patient mode, right? So anyway, let's continue.
It's not, this is not the military. It's not necessary to be abrasive with someone just because it's an intense area that you work in, right? Like, we understand it's intense. Like, I am a registered nurse just like you are. I, finished my nursing program. I passed the NCLEX. So I have the knowledge. Now, I may not have the experience, but again, I have the knowledge and I am willing and ready to learn and I'm adaptive and all of that. So to come across as like a mean witch and like, you cannot have any type of rapport with your preceptee is just crazy. And so this particular girl,
Well, see, the rapport that you would want to establish with your preceptor is one of hardworking, inquisitiveness, competence, right? Selflessness, uh, non gossiping, right? Emotionally intelligent, right? A lot of nurses lack emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence would tell you, let me not just judge this nurse, let me take a few weeks to get to know her. Maybe some of her nursing stories will come out. You see, here's the thing. I used to be a nurse that I thought it was in the beginning when I first started my nursing career as an OPN, LVN, whatever you want to call it. I thought that this career was going to be kumbaya. We're all nurses as one. That Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson, Cyndi Lauper song. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones to make a better day. So let's start giving. Right? I thought it was gonna be kumbaya. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true. We make a better day. Just you and me. No, 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 no. That is not how things are done in nursing. You're not going to get a kumbaya. Uh, we're all as living all as one. We're all one nurse under one umbrella. And just because we're nurses, we're all going to get along. We're all going to have a peachy cream time. Everything is going to be wonderful. We're going to have so many wonderful nursing relationships with one another. What? No, it's no, 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 ma'am. It's never been like that. Where do you think Nurse Gretchen comes in at? All these negative or derogatory nurse names. Where do you think they all came from? Okay, so the number one thing is that when we come into this career and we choose the area of nursing that we want to work in or branch off to, We always want to keep in mind that this is not a park playground. We are not children. Just because you want to run up to the nurse's station and be my friend, I'm going to start giving you all of my fun tools to use and different things of that nature. And I'm going to invite you to my house and we're going to hold hands and run around the park. I'm going to push you on the swing. You're going to push me. We're going to go on the slide together and slide down one at a time. We're not children, right? We're grown adults. Children are the only ones who love unconditionally, who see no color, who can just immediately get along, right? We're grown. We have had so many different life experiences. We have come across so many different people, so many different patients, so many different situations, right? I need a minute, okay? I need a minute to get to know you. I need a minute to see if I can trust you. I need a minute to see what type of person you are. And you need a minute to see those things in me as well. So, right now, while we're just now being introduced to one another and we have to work with one another, let's keep it business, let's keep it nursing, and let's let the relationship flow if there is going to be one, which usually there is one. Even with nurses that I have that don't like me or that don't get along with me, eventually we have had long conversations, we have shared nursing experiences, we have helped one another, and then after all is said and done, we go our separate ways and we still don't like each other. She still don't like me, but you know what, that's okay, because what I'm trying to establish in a person that doesn't like me is that you can always come to me. I don't care what the deal is. You don't have to like me on a personal level. But as far as the business level, professional level, needing help with these patients level, you can always come to me. I'm always going to be there for you. So anyway, give it a minute. Stop forcing things, right? You can't force people to like you the first day they meet you, the first week they've worked with you. You can't do that. You got to give people time.
Like, not only did we just not have rapport, she was just very rude, very abrasive. Like, if it was a skill that I was not familiar with, which granted, as I mentioned before, I worked in oncology, like we deal with ports and central lines. So a lot of times we aren't inserting peripheral IVs and things like that. But, me letting her know that I don't have recent experience with starting an IV is like, oh, like, you know what I mean? Like, this kind of condescending attitude.
Okay, well, here's the thing with that. And I'm just gonna say, hey, as a registered nurse, we're not talking about a licensed practical nurse who can go to a higher person to get help with their skills. As a registered nurse, you are responsible for your basic nursing skills. Okay. Basic nursing skills across the board, LPN, RN, across the board is Foley cath. In my day, it was Foley cath, NG tube, gastrostomy tube, suprapubic catheter, right? Um, Foley catheter, Heplock, which is an IV insertion, right? IV antibiotic administration, medication administration, and all the other things they come as you learn in the nursing field, such as wound vac, um, another thing that's supposed to be basic is wound care, right? You're supposed to know how to read a wound care order and get your supplies and do your wound care, right? Some of the other specialty things you learn out in the field. But if you were one that paid attention and participated in nursing school, you should have these basic skills, and you should have been practicing them, especially when you first get out of nursing school. You should be in an environment to where this person needs a help, like I'm going to do a help, like, ooh, can I watch? Can you take me through the steps, right? Also, since this woman has not worked in ER, she has been working in oncology with the ports and the pick lines and different things of that nature. Before she hopped into the ER, knowing that you're going to have to do these things because it's an emergency room. So, yes, you're going to be inserting many peripherals on people unless the paramedics have already done it for you by the time the patient reaches the hospital, right? Sometimes, you know, during lab testing, it's been discovered that the patient is going to need IV antibiotics. Insert this HEPLOC. They are probably going to need a liter of normal saline. You have to start this HEPLOC. This nurse did not do her due diligence before she branched out into an area of nursing that she knew nothing about. Okay. So, this is where I say, are you a weak link? Right? As a nurse, are you a weak link? Because you're only strongest as your strongest link, right? She should have said, oh, well, darn, I'm going to go to the ER. I'm probably going to have to start some HEPLOCs. Or had she done her research, she would have known or heard from other nurses that struggle with that task as well. She would have said, oh, I don't want to be one of those struggling nurses trying to do a HEPLOC. So let me take some of this RN money and go do me a IV class. You can take an IV class, IV insertion class, just for practice. As a matter of fact, one of the things I do as a nurse starting HEPLOCs, so I sometimes I'll watch videos on YouTube just to refresh my memory, just to see how just to see how someone else does it. There's new ways, new products, different things of that nature. So there's always research to be done to refresh your memory and to see somebody start a HEPLOC. So this nurse came in with, and her skills weren't up to par, which means that's going to put more stress on the nurses around her, right? So you're in a room, you're in an ER room, and the doctor comes in, and the doctor says, okay, let's get a HEPLOC started. Right, you're supposed to be able to go get that treatment card or go get your card, get your HEPLOC supplies, and you're supposed to be able to start a HEPLOC on that patient immediately. You're gonna have to run around and find another nurse to help you put this HEPLOC in, meaning you're gonna take that nurse away from her patient, or that nurse away from her real-time documentation, or that nurse away from her triaging a patient to come over and to help you do a skill that you are already supposed to know how to do, whether you are being precepted or not, right? Because it is a part of your basic skills. So, this is how we deflect from the fact that we didn't take the necessary steps and prepare ourselves as nurses before going into an environment that we know nothing about. Right. And this is probably what this other nurse has been dealing with. She has been dealing with nurses coming to the ER who don't have their skills up to par. Sometimes you're going to have to put a Foley catheter in a patient who's complained of anuria. I haven't been able to pee for 12 hours now. The last time I peed was at 7 o'clock this morning, and here it is 6 p.m. and I'm in so much distress. You're either going to have to straight cast that patient or put a Foley in that patient. 9 times out of 10, you're going to put a Foley in, right? You need to know that skill. What are you supposed to do? You need to immediately get that patient out of the stress. The doctor's not going to do it. The nurse practitioner is not going to do it. You, as the nurse, have to be up to par in your skills to be so that you won't be a weak link running around the doggone ER. Right? So you can't come into a nursing unit and then be able to or have to dump your duties off on someone else. It is just not going to work out well for you, ma'am. Right? It's not going to work out well. And then, but I'll continue. I'll continue because she goes into another area. But yeah, your skills are supposed to be up to par as a registered nurse. You're not just here to look good and look cute in your scrubs, and walk with your wear your stethoscope around your neck walking around. You're supposed to have some skills. That's why you're a registered nurse, because you're supposed to be, the top notch nurse. And if you don't have the necessary skills up to par, what are you but a weak link?
toward me with not being familiar with certain skills. Now, that's the other thing that just really, really gets on my nerves when it comes to some nurses that, first of all, there's like a million different specialties within nursing. So, say you worked in labor and delivery, if someone like takes you over to oncology, that is going to be foreign to you. Like, you've never worked in that area, so you don't know anything about that. So, the area.
Okay, it's going to be foreign to you. However, this is usually how things go in any nursing environment, depending on what type of what your job title is. As a bedside nurse in the hospital, as a med nurse in a skilled nursing facility, you know that you're going to be passing medications, right? You're going to be passing medications. So, with that being said, you go to an oncology unit, right? You're going to get report on your patients, okay? You're going to count a narcotics box, right? You're going to be in charge of a cart with medications in it, right? Or you're going to have one of those mobile computer things to where you can look at your MAR or whatever. So you're going to be told and report who you're documenting on and what you need to, basically document. You ask your questions there. So you go to an oncology unit. What are the people there for? They're there for assessment, diagnosis, plan, intervention, evaluation, right? Reassessment. So you're going to have to pass some medications, ma'am. So yeah, what's the difference? You go skilled nursing, you're going to be a med nurse, right? You could be a charge nurse, you could be a supervisor. Kind of really doesn't matter, because eventually at some point in time you're going to have to pass medications, you're going to have to hang IVs if it's not your main function. So you still need to be up to par, but it goes the same way. You're going to come in, you're going to get a patient assignment, you're going to be assigned to a unit, you're going to be assigned a certain amount of patients, you're going to get a report from the nurse, she's going to tell you who we're documenting on. You're also going to have that time to ask your questions, right? And then you figure out what time med pass starts and you carry on. It doesn't matter where you go as a nurse, you're going to receive report from another nurse. So the point is that you're supposed to have your basic nurse skills up to par, and if you don't, you become a weak link. Nobody wants to be your friend. Nobody wants to do your documentation. Nobody wants to hang your IVs. Nobody wants to start your HEP locks. Nobody wants to pass your medications. Nobody wants to do your documentation. You know why? Because we all have our own responsibilities to take care of, and they're the same as yours. So why should you be working on this unit and I have to double up on my work and you have no work to do? It just does not make any sense. Okay? So either you're going to be a strong nurse or you're going to be a weak nurse. And if you know your nursing skills are not up to par, you need to be taking some of your RN money and you need to be brushing up on your clinical skills and by doing an IV class, right? Taking a wound care class. They got They have wound care classes at the colleges for nurses. They got IV courses at the college for nurses. You don't have to uh even though as a registered nurse, you could pretty much perform any function except for inserting a midline or a PIC line. You have to be certified and trained for that. But everything else a registered nurse can do. However, they have resources out there that if you're lacking in these skills, you can go and take a course and learn them. So why aren't we doing that? Why aren't our nursing skills important? You know why? Because they say, "Oh, well, I don't know how to start a HEP block, but I'm sure there's a nurse on the unit that does." That can help me. No, there is no helping you, ma'am. You need to be trained, and you need about maybe 2 to 3 weeks of training in how to insert a HEP lock because it has to be in your memory. So a nurse on the floor can't help you or train you in one day to start a HEP lock, especially if you've never started one before or if it's been years before you started one, since you started one, or you're not a fast learner, or there's a fear factor in you. So I'll just tell you my IV insertion experience. So, I was an LPN for a long time. We really weren't required to start HEP blocks. Um, we really weren't required to hang IV antibiotics. The registered nurse usually did those things. However, as an LPN, I did take a IV course, and I was able to start HEP blocks. But since it had been I mean, I'm talking so many years, right? Um, I couldn't do one. Right, I couldn't practice. I didn't, didn't have that skill. So, and then even where I was at the time when I searched out IV classes, there were none available because the LPN schools started to add that in the nursing program. So by the time the LPNs graduated nursing school, they already had their IV certifications because it was a part of the vocational course. So I couldn't find an IV class. So I just left it alone. However, when I came to where I am now, if you were an LPN and you didn't know how to insert a HEP lock or you didn't know how to hang an IV, it really wasn't required of you because they had the RNs that were the IV nurses. So they would go ahead and do it. It wasn't even an issue. But when I got my RN and and now I'm required to start HEP blocks and I'm required to hang IV antibiotics, it was something that I was like, oh my God. But let me tell you, and when I did get to where I'm at as an LPN, I did take an IV certification course. So I went ahead and paid that 600 and something dollars to go ahead and take that IV course. So as an LPN, I was able to be get IV certified. So that helped me a lot, but I still wasn't able to insert HEP blocks because there was just no need, but I still had to hang the IVs sometimes. So that was okay. Now, when I became an RN and it became a regular nursing function that I had to perform, oh God, it was like, oh no, this ain't gonna work out. Oh no. So I was fortunate enough. So when I first got my RN, I worked somewhere where no IV was necessary. My second nursing job, oh my God, I'm the IV nurse. I'm the IV nurse. So I'm like, okay, how are we gonna do this? So I watched some YouTube videos, but it wasn't the same as actually inserting a HEP lock. You can learn the steps so that they become memory, but actually doing it, um, knowing where to find the veins, good places to find veins, and different things of that nature. It was like, oh no, Houston, we have a problem. So the lab girl, I always called her the lab girl. when she would come in the morning to draw labs, I would, of course, watch her, help her. Sometimes if we had a difficult patient, I would be able to convince the patient to let her draw the blood, explaining why and this, that, and the third. And so, it'd come out right. But she was just so proficient in her job. She was like a distinguished phlebotomist. So, as I got to know her, I didn't just like the first day she came in jump her bones because we didn't know each other. I didn't know what her personality was. I was just always available and, there to help her. So one day I said, so and so, I said, "Oh my God, you like never miss. Like, how do you do it?" And I was like, because right now I couldn't start an IV to save my life. I couldn't start an epilogue to save my life. And she was like, "Oh, you want me to show you?" So I said, "Yeah." And she was like, "Okay, so there's good veins here, there's good veins there, this, do that, do this, do that." And so I was like, "Oh, okay." So I said, "Next time, if you come and I have a hep block to start, you're gonna watch me. You're gonna take me through the steps, and then I'm gonna get it." She was like, "Okay." Sure enough, had a hep block to start. She came in, and I was like, "Okay, I gotta start a hep block." I was like, "Okay, come on, let's go. Let me get the supplies." So I got all the supplies, and boom, I got it. And from that point on, I was okay. So it's okay not to know how to perform a skill. Um, but I had already taken that IV class, that $600 IV class, which I was not going to do again, right? So I did my due diligence. It was just that actually doing it and refreshing my memory and then bringing what I learned from the Ivy class to the forefront of my mind via her explanations and her showing me and her taking me through the steps. I mean, I was just like A1 after that. Of course, you gonna hit and miss sometimes, but the majority of the time, I'm gonna say 99% of the time, I was there. And then the other 1%, if I couldn't get it, none of the nurses could get it, right? But I just feel like as a nurse, you need to do your due diligence, or you need to reach out to somebody for help and not your actual, I mean, it could be your preceptor, but hey, get to know her. But anyway, I'm going to take you into why that didn't work out for her. Okay, I do feel bad for this nurse. I feel bad for her. I'm not all, hey, you don't have your shit together, so you're a weak link and this and third. No, but did you do your due diligence before you put yourself in this environment to be a stressor for somebody else? That's all I'm saying. Let's continue.
Arrogance of being like, oh, you don't know how to do that. You know what I mean? When that is not your specialty, you haven't worked in that area, and not taking into consideration that somebody.
Okay, sorry, but that's an excuse. Not having taken into the consideration, not having worked in that area. Hep lock insertion is a basic registered nurse skill. That's a basic skill. Okay, a basic skill. Hanging an IV antibiotic is a basic skill. Piggyback is a basic skill. Were you not paying attention in nursing school? My school was a special school. However, you was not getting out of there. You was not passing nothing if you didn't know how to hang an IV antibiotic. It was a requirement for everyone that was taking that test. If you didn't know how to do it, you will not be graduating this school, right? All the basic nursing skills have to be performed competently before you can pass this class. This is the last stage. So from what I hear, they have even they oh my God, they added a slew of skills because as a registered nurse, you're supposed to have all some knowledge of the basic skills of a registered nurse or some idea on how to do it and or creating your own uh practice tools. So when I say practice tools, another one of the things we had to do before we could graduate the nursing school that I went to is we had to perform wound care. So what I did was, I think it was some, I don't know if it was Play-Doh. I think it was Play-Doh. I took some Play-Doh and I created the wound that so that I could practice doing my wound care so I could pass the test. If you want to practice on inserting a Foley catheter, all you have to do is like take something, poke a hole in it, and get you a Foley catheter, or use a straw, or use and just practice inserting. Right. So there are so many different things that we can do to help ourselves, but we feel like, oh, there's going to be someone there to help me. And it's like, yeah, there's someone here to help you, but we don't want to do it for you. If you know how to do the Foley, or you know how to insert the Heplock, but you just don't remember all the supplies you need, sure, I'll help you with all the supplies. But I don't want to do it for you. You're taking away from me and my patient load. So come on, come in here, skills up to par, or at least some idea what it is you're supposed to be doing, and get in these environments where you can practice, right? You were supposed to be doing that when you were doing your clinical rotations in the hospital. So as an LPN, I had all those basic skills when I graduated LPN school: wound care, NG tube insertion, Foley cath insertion, Foley cath as a G tube insert. I had all, I was like me. My teacher's like, who wanted to perform? Me. Who wanted me? To the point where I stopped saying me because I was like, oh, I might want to give somebody else a chance, right? And when she would say, who wants to do X, Y, and Z, nobody would raise their hand, and then they would actually say, come on, Belinda, you do it. They rather watch me do it versus them doing it. So when I got out of nursing school, I'm sorry, all my things were together, right? Anyway, let's continue.
He just is not well versed in that particular specialty is just so ignorant to me. Like, you know what I mean? I just feel like it's this crazy, nurses eating their young mentality, and this crazy, like, toxic environment a lot of times with nurses, where, it's just nurse bullying. Like, okay, that you shouldn't get all of your validation in life from knowing how to put in a Foley catheter. Like,
No, you don't get all your validation in life because you know how to put in a Foley catheter. No, you get your validation in your career and in your life that you are a competent registered nurse, and you aren't looking for someone to do your job, or you aren't looking for someone to be your BFF, or you aren't looking for someone to help you deflect from the knowledge that you lack. You got to come into these nursing units, and you have to be able to hold your own. I understand orientation process. You're observing at this point in time. You may do a little thing here and there, but basically you're supposed to be soaking up the game, right? You're supposed to come in with a humbled attitude. Now, unless somebody is training you the wrong way and you know it, you gonna be like, oh no, honey, no ma'am, no ma'am. But you come in with a humble attitude. You look, you learn, you see how the nurse is doing it, that's training you, see how she's doing it. She might be showing you something new, right? And then once you're done with your orientation and you're on your own, then you go ahead and do things the way you do them, and you might want to incorporate some of the ways the nurse that trained you did things, right? But anyway, you just can't you can't have that attitude. And then sometimes nurses are jealous because you know what you're doing. You're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off because you don't know what you're doing. A lot of nurses are jealous of that, right? They see you with confidence. They see you communicating with your patients. They hear you communicating with the practitioners. They hear you communicating with families. Your meds are passed in a timely manner. Your documentation is done. You're on time for a report so that you can go home, and you're clocking out on time and you're leaving, and they're still at the desk trying to figure out who they need to document on. So you got a lot of jealousy in nursing. And it's like, ma'am, the reason why you don't have it together, or one of the reasons why you don't have it together, is because you're too busy focusing on what another nurse is doing. Okay. If it is not your job to focus on what another nurse is doing, then that means you need to tuck your nose and you need to roll around the nurse's station taking care of your business, becoming an efficient, competent nurse. But see, a lot of times these nurses are too worried about, oh, she has an attitude, and oh, I can't ask her nothing, and oh, she's this, and oh, she's that. But you know what? Who are you, nurse? Who are you, nurse? Quit looking at another nurse if it's not your job, and look at yourself.
Just be happy that you do have that recent skill of putting in a Foley or an NG tube, but also be happy and be glad to be able to share that knowledge with someone else. Like, don't use that as an opportunity to be condescending to another nurse, a nursing student, or whatever the case may be, someone who is not, they may have even been able to do it in the past.
Okay, so this is where I want to stop, and now I want to give a little light teaching. It's a little light teaching. Everything else has been opinions. This is a little light teaching. The RN school that I went to, we had a portion, or I would say, how can I say this? We had an assignment to do before, and had to pass it, right, with 100% before we could attend our final step, which was what we call our CPNE. So our final nurse examination, which was our hospital examination. But we had to take this written test. We had to fill out this booklet, this little booklet that they gave us. And it was a booklet on delegating, right? So we had to show that um, we were capable of delegating. And one of the areas of that booklet that we had to complete was, as a nursing supervisor, as a charge nurse, what are some of the things that you can delegate, and how do you delegate, especially when you're dealing with a new nurse to the unit, a new nurse to the field, a new nurse to this specialty or whatever, right? So, the main function of delegating was that you had to know the nurse that you were going to be delegating to. You had to, number one, you had to know their nursing background, hence experience. Number two, you had to know what skills they were able to perform proficiently, and what skills they had never performed, and are they comfortable attempting the skills that they had never performed. You have to know this about a nurse, right? So, with that being said, one of the things that has to happen is the supervisor on the unit, or the charge nurse on the unit, is supposed to pull, was supposed to, or is or was supposed to pull this precepty to the side for an interview, right? Yeah, you did an interview with the director of nursing or whoever, and you got the job, this, that, and the third. And yes, no. Now you need to interview with the charge nurse because now the charge nurse is in charge of you, right? So she's going to be in charge of your competence or lack thereof. So she is supposed to interview you and say, "Hey, Coco, can I talk to you for a minute before I put you with your preceptor? How long have you been a nurse? Oh, well, I've been a nurse for about a year and a half. Okay. So what environments have you worked in? For the time you've been a nurse. Oh, well, I've only worked oncology. Oh, okay. Well, that's fabulous. That's what's so special. So tell me some of the things that you did on this oncology unit. Okay. Yes. Well, we one of my main functions was to administer anti-neoplastic drugs via PIC line, central line, and ports. Mm, mm, okay. So let me ask you, Coco, have you ever started a hep lock? Oh, in nursing school, but I have not done one in a long time. Have you ever attempted a hep lock on a live person? No, I've never been successful in doing that. That is one of the skills I'm lacking. Oh, okay. How about Foley catheter? Are you comfortable with doing a Foley cath? Mm, no, I've never done a Foley catheter before. Okay. Well, how are you with pouring and passing medications? Oh, I know how to do that very well. That was another function of mine. We also had to administer PO medications. Okay. What about your assessment skills? How are your assessment skills? Are you able to complete a full head to toe assessment? Oh, yes, I am. Uh-huh. I'm able to do that. Okay, fine. Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you, Coco. I am going to get your preceptor. I'll introduce you to your preceptor, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, Coco, here's your preceptor, Sherry. She's going to be with you for today. I don't know about tomorrow and some of the other days, but I know today she's going to be with you. But let me go ahead and talk to Sherry for a minute. You can make yourself comfortable for a time at the nurse's station, and Sherry will be back with you. Pull Sherry to the side and you say, "Hey, Sherry, okay, listen. I've spoken with Coco and I've determined what her needs are. Okay. So, Sherry, Coco does not know how to start a HEPLOC. She does not know how to insert a HEPLOC. Her nursing experience is mainly in oncology. And so she is used to dealing with IV ports, IV chest ports. And PIC lines for administration of anti-neoplastic drugs. She does have some Medicaid, some MedPass experience. She has expressed to me that she is good at doing head to toe assessments, different things of that nature. So, what I need for you to do is, oh, and she doesn't know how to insert Foley catheters, right? So, what I'm giving you this information because now I need for you to come up with a plan and a direction on how you're going to precept her. Okay, so just know I've explained to you the skills that she can do and the skills that she can't do, but she is willing to. She's not afraid to try. She's not afraid to make attempts, and obviously she's not afraid to say what she doesn't know how to do. So go ahead, make a plan for her. Let's see if we can start seeing how comfortable she is. Maybe if you guys have a hep block or two to do, maybe you can do one, take her through the steps, and then maybe sit down with her and ask her how comfortable she feels and if she wants to attempt the next one. But yeah, this is a new area for her. So let's just make her feel welcome and be there to her. And then Sherry goes off and Sherry says, "Okay, come on, Coco, let's go. Okay, so first we're going to do this, that, and that's how that is supposed to go. But when you bring a nurse into an environment and you don't know anything about her, you know nothing about her past nursing history, you know nothing about the skills that she's comfortable or not comfortable doing, you don't know anything about this nurse. So her preceptor is under the impression that, okay, you've gotten hired for this area of nursing, this specialty, so you know what to do. So basically, it's just me orientating you to the unit where the supplies are, maybe the electronic documentation, where the med room is, the rooms, and different things of that nature. So Sherry don't freaking know what this nurse know, and the nurse is not even herself trying to say what she does. You have to establish all of these things in the beginning. You have to establish a baseline for this nurse's preceptorship in the beginning so you know what direction to take her into. You know what you can delegate to her and what you cannot. Okay? And then it makes Sherry feel a little bit more comfortable because now she knows what she's dealing with. But it's like the blind leading the blind following the blind. So the structure is missing. The structure is missing. I don't know what's going on in nursing, but everybody is just being thrown in the woods to go figure out and navigate on how to come out to the other end. And some nurses never make it out. And when they do make it out, they don't want to go back into the woods ever, ever, never, 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 ever, never again. Hence quitting their jobs. And whose fault is this? It is the director of nursing because there is no structural plan in place for new employees, new nurses. Period. So you don't know what to, the person that's orientating this nurse, they don't know what to do because the communication is not there. The structure is not there. Okay? So, I mean, hey, let's continue on. I don't know if that was a little light teaching, but it was some teaching.
Past, but they don't have that recent knowledge or experience with it, so they have questions. But to base your whole personality and existence and confidence or whatever the case may be on the fact that you have that recent experience with that skill and other people don't, to use that like to weaponize it, that is very much an issue. Like, that is saying you have no validation anywhere else in your life that you feel it necessary to be condescending to someone because they don't immediately remember how to do a certain.
No, it's not a condescending attitude. It's just that they don't know that you don't know. And then when they find out in the midst of, you got a patient that needs a hep lock, and then you all of a you don't, now you telling her that you don't know how to do a hep lock. I mean, she's like, oh fuck, what I'm gonna do? Like, am I gonna have to now? She now the your preceptor, she immediately goes into a downward spiral on. Well, damn, she don't know how to start a hep lock. Fuck, that means I'm gonna have to be starting all her hep locks, and she don't know how to insert a Foley. Well, fuck, I'm gonna have to be inserting all of her Foleys. Like, damn. And then now the nurse is all stressed out and she don't know what the hell to do because her director of nursing didn't tell her what to do because her director of nursing don't know what the fuck to do. So nobody knows nothing. But the preceptor just knows that her skills are up to par, and now I have a weak link because now the nurse can't even help her preceptor. Once the preceptorship is over and she becomes a full nurse on the floor, she can't even help the preceptor. She can't even help me. It's gonna go one way. And nursing, it can't go one way. We have to help each other. So yeah, you may be weak in starting hep locks, and I might be weak in Foley catheters. But if you weak in Heplics and weak in Foley catheters, you can't even help me with my Foley catheter. But I can help you with a Heplic. Come on now. That's no. No. We're not just here to pop pills in people's mouths, right? We're not here to say, oh, well, let's wait for the IV nurse to get to the unit. The IV nurse might be over on med surge starting 16 Hep blocks. Who knows? She might not be available at this time to come to your unit or your department and start a Hep block. You need to be able to start your own Hep block so you can hurry up and take care of this patient's needs. If you're in an emergency situation to where this patient's bladder is about to burst wide open, you can't go running around waiting for another nurse's time to be freed up for you to relieve this patient's bladder. Come on now. Come on now. I mean, I understand, Coco, but you put yourself in an environment that you weren't prepared for, and you did nothing to prepare for it. You anticipated that you were going to get all of your learning and all of your training on the unit, but sometimes there's no time for that, as evidenced by what she is getting ready to say.
Skill. Like, I think that's actually more dangerous than anything when it comes to nursing, to have like an arrogant attitude as though you know it all, because nursing is a field where you're always learning and you're always
Okay, so it's not that us nurses that know how to do the majority of our nursing functions. It's not that we know it all. It's that we've taken the time to learn it. And so, ma'am, what have you been doing with your nursing career again? Right? I understand that this is a new area for you, ma'am, but why aren't your basic skills up to par? There's a reason, right? But in the midst of the reasons, did you do anything to try to mitigate those reasons? Did you do anything to try to correct those reasons why your skills aren't up to par? Right now, for me, if I don't know a nurse, I mean, pretty much I do what I was trained in my nursing school to do: evaluate the nurse and see what she knows and what I can delegate to her. That's the first step I take when I'm orientating somebody. So I don't know what the hell's going on with all these other nurses, but you know, if if a, and even if I didn't do that step, and a nurse came to me and said, "Oh no, I don't know how to do a Hep block," and then I'm gonna be like, "Oh, okay, well, have you ever taken an IV class?" And she says, "No," but I've watched hundreds and hundreds of Hep block videos, and I just can't seem to get it, you know. And I say, okay, well, next time we have a Hep block, you can watch me do it, and then, then the next one that we have, I'll let you make an attempt to do it, and that's what I've done. So, I mean, it's not that we know it all; it's just that we've invested in ourselves. You know, we've taken the time and we've taken the learning opportunities to do so, right? And then when we found someone, because you're not going to find it every day. I don't care what you think nursing is about. I don't care what you think nurses are supposed to do. I don't care how caring you think us nurses are supposed to be. It's not every day that you're going to run into a nurse that is willing to help you bring your skills up to par. You have to be a special nurse for that. You have to be a teaching nurse. You have to have that teaching spirit. You have to have that helping spirit, right? And truth be told, there are just a lot of nurses who don't have that. You have a lot of nurses that are haters. You have a lot of nurses that are happy you don't know how to do your skills. You have a lot of nurses that will make fun of you behind your back that you don't know how to do your skills. You'll have some nurses that don't know how to process the reasons why you don't know how to do your skills, right? You're going to have some nurses who will make it every point and every turn on the shift so that you don't get an opportunity to learn those skills. You have all types of nurses out there. And this is one of the things that I had to realize, because when I became an LPN back in 97, I had such a difficult time in the beginning of my nursing career. It wasn't even funny. I was like, where's the nurses that's supposed to be helping me? They know I'm a new nurse. Where's the nurses that's no, it was far and few in between. Thank God the RN ADON took me under her wing as an LPN and basically showed me the ropes. And then whenever I needed help, she was there. But it was like, for me, you only had to show me one time. You only had to tell me one time. And then I was able to perform the function. I was able to do it. Just like in nursing school, it only took me one time to learn how to do a Foley. It only took me one time to learn how to do an NG tube. You know why? Because the steps were already in my head. Right? The steps were already in my head. And so now all I needed to do was to put them into practice with someone standing next to me that gave me the confidence to do it. And once I'm telling you, it took one time. But you're not going to find nurses every day that want to help you. And then I also had, so whenever I found a nurse, oh my God, when I found a teaching nurse, a nurse that was willing to teach, oh my God, I hopped all over this nurse. Okay. And then I observed this nurse. So the teaching nurses are easier to go to than the nurses that don't have that teaching spirit in them. And then you have to recognize when you're dealing with a hater. You have to realize when you're dealing with somebody that's jealous. You might be a beautiful nurse. You might be a smart nurse. And people will hate, other nurses will hate you because of that. So those are the ones I stay away from. And this is why I became the nurse that I am today. I hold my own. I'm one of the strongest links in nursing you will find, and I bet you that wouldn't. I'm not the only one with this fact about me. So, you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your career. You have to invest in your skills so that you can hold your own, because you don't know the culture that you're going to be going into in these different facilities. You might have a culture where the DON got her shit together, which means that all the other nurses got their shit together. You might come into a mean girl culture in the work field. You might come into that bullying culture. So for me, like I said, when it comes to bullying has nothing to do with nursing. Bullying has everything to do with the nurses not liking you because you possess something that they don't. So therefore, they treat you a certain way. Right? They treat you a certain, it has nothing to do with nursing. But when you have a nurse that is your supervisor or your charge nurse, and it is her job to let you know you didn't do that right. You're not doing that right. You need to stop. Or, this is how this is supposed to be done. That's not bullying. That's letting you know I'm stopping you before you hurt somebody and lose your license. But all that other shit, excluding you from conversations and doing little petty shit to you, and that's bullying. Being surprised that you don't know how to do something, like, girl, what, you don't know how to start a HEP lock? That's not bullying. That's just being surprised, because then you go to nursing school. Why you don't know how to do your skills? So it means that if you don't know how to do them, who the fuck is going to do them? That means one of us is going to have to do honey, you're going to have to get your nursing together. We're not about to sit here and do your work for you. That's not bullying. That's saying, hey, this is hard to begin with. This is a lot to begin with. And if I gotta add my stuff on your stuff on top of my stuff, honey, no, 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 ma'am. That means you're doing less than me for the same doggone pay. I'm not getting paid no extra to do your job. And this is what I hear a lot of nurses saying. I'm not getting paid any extra to do your job. If we're short a nurse and we got to cover this unit, we not getting no bonus. We're not getting paid no extra, but we get extra work and no extra pay. So therefore, you calling off, we're pissed because we had to do your work for the day and we didn't get nothing extra. They didn't buy us no lunch. They didn't bring us no coffee, right? They didn't give us no food out the kitchen. We didn't get a bottle of water. We didn't get a Coke out the machine. We didn't get no extra breaks. We didn't get nothing, but we had to take on your workload. So yeah, y'all. Sometimes these nurses they so selfish they can't come outside of themselves and see how their actions affect someone else. But anyway, let's continue.
It's best and it's actually a safer technique to be asking questions, because also a lot of times, based on evidence-based practices, a lot of things are changing. There's updates with certain techniques and skills of how we do things. So to assume that your way is the right way, and like, you're to not ask any questions, that
Well, we're not assuming that our way is the right way. What we're doing is, number one, you have to stay up on your nursing research to see how things are being done new. This is funny. This is it is not funny, but it's funny. But I'll tell you a nurse story because I'm the first one. I'll be the first one to tell you. Oh my God, I fucking didn't know how to do that. And I looked so goddamn stupid and nobody else said anything. And then it was some other nurses who did the same shit because she didn't know either. I'll be the first one. So in my pick line class that I took a pick line class, right? Pick line insertion class. And the so when I took this class, okay, I still remember all the steps, how to, do what needed to be done, change the dressing, this and the third, right? So I went to work at this facility, and so it was like, okay, now you have to change the pick line, but also in addition to changing the pick line, you have to measure it, right? So it's like, okay, so I'm under the impression, and I assume made an ass out of myself. I assumed made an ass out of myself, but it was funny because, um, you know, quite a few people were doing the same thing, and I'll tell you what alerted me to that I was doing it wrong, that I wasn't measuring it right. So I was measuring, for how I thought it should be measured. Right? I didn't do no fucking research at all, right? And this is why I say, do your research. I'm not a perfect nurse. There's sometimes when, I'm just thinking I know how to do shit and I'm doing it wrong, right? Do your research. So anyway, I'm sitting here, I'm measuring this and a third, I'm documenting this, documenting that. And then all of a sudden, one day, I said, this don't sound right. I said, let me look and see what somebody else documented, right? And then I looked and I was like, why is they measurement different than mine? Like they're getting a greater measurement than mine. So I said, dumbass, go on YouTube and research how to measure the pick line. So I went on YouTube and I was like, well, fuck me. I was like, oh my God. Okay. So I watched the video and I was like, oh, okay. So this is how you do it. And I just laughed. I laughed and I laughed. And what I did was I said, okay, well, shit, from now on, these things is about to be measured correctly. Right. So the and we would have to share, like, doing the pick line dress. So I do have another nurse who do have. So with the other nurse, I said, listen, I said, do you not know we have been measuring these pick lines wrong? And she was like, what? I said, yeah, we've been measuring them wrong. I said, nobody said anything, but I guess, if you don't look back at another person's documentation, you don't know what's going on. Everybody's just assuming that everybody knows how to do it. But here's the thing. There was no policy on measuring the pick line, and you're supposed to have that, right? Matter of fact, I couldn't find any policies on IVs at all. So that is what's supposed to lead a nurse to do her skills, which is a policy, right? This is how you do it. Step one, the nurse is step two, step three, step four, and then document this, that, and the third. There was no policy for it. So that was a huge miss right there with the facility, that I couldn't find a policy for it. So who's writing your policies and procedures? And that's one of the things that I went to school for my master's degree for, is policy and procedure writing, right? So yes, I'm able to uh, develop policies and procedures for a facility, if I ever became a DON. Get you right. But yeah, there was no policy, so so nobody had a guide. So it was like, figure it out on your own. Sometimes you got to go to YouTube. Sometimes you have to go to these different sites. Sometimes you have to do that, because although the facility may not have a policy and procedure in place, there is a correct way just to do the skill, right? They have just yet to put it in place. But anyway, like I said, that was not included in a pick line class, so that was a change that occurred. But I laughed and I told everybody. I was like, oh my God. And I'm going to tell you something. When I mess up, I tell everybody. The reason being is because number one, I tell them I messed up because I'm such a super nurse. I tell them I messed up because I also want them and myself to remember that I'm human and that I do make mistakes. So whatever you're thinking in your mind that I'm a little know-it-all, no, I don't fucking know everything. So I'm going to share with you guys and let you know that I am a nurse just like you are. My job title might be different, but as far as learning, sometimes we're all in the same boat. Sometimes we don't know. But also, my reason for telling them is because I want them to know how I intervened and how I corrected it. Because that in turn then lets them know that, hey, if I F up, or if I figure out that I'm doing something wrong, um, number one, I figured out something wrong. Number two, it needs to be corrected. And number three, I know what to do to correct it. So while I'm telling you my mishaps, I'm also teaching at the same time, right? So anyway, everybody I told, they laughed. They laughed. Oh my God, they laughed. But hey, we got it right. It's right. Okay, it's right. But so yeah, you have to stay up on changes in nursing. Um, you have to stay up on changes in policies and procedures and different things of that nature, because that's what keeps you functioning as a good nurse. So anyway, let's continue.
Increases the rate of medical errors anyway. So it's actually best to be humble. It's best to, take constructive criticism. It's best to, relay the information you have without doing it in a hateful, disdainful way. So,
well, here's the thing: nobody has to tell you anything. And when I say nobody has to tell you anything, if they aren't the supervisor or the charge nurse or the director of nursing or your preceptor, they don't have to tell you jack shit. I'm not here to teach you. That's what the supervisor is for. That's what the charge nurse is for. That's what your director of nursing is for. So if I don't want to share my nursing knowledge with you, I don't have to, because it's not a requirement. And so my thing is that back when I was in nursing school, in LPN school, and when other registered nurses were in nursing school back before the internet boomed, there was no internet resources for us to use. We had to literally go to a book. We had to go to a book. And when things changed, the book changed, right? We couldn't look up drug facts online. We had to actually go to our drug nursing books or the PDA. So, and we had to flip pages. We had to look if the medication started with the letter P, we had to flip to the letter P's, and we had to look for the medication. If we needed to perform a skill, we had to look it up in a we they had nursing books on the unit. We had to look it up to figure out how to do it. If we didn't know what a pill looked like, we had to go to our nursing drug book to see what pills looked like because they were so standard in shape and form and color. Nowadays, these pills is all different shapes, colors, sizes, to where you're not going to just find it in a nursing drug book. I think nursing drug books are extinct. They're only used in nursing school for them to teach you about specific drugs. But when you get out in the nursing field, those drugs, they change in shape, they change in size, and they change in color. So, but we have the internet that we can go to. So if you find a pill on the floor or in your nursing cart that's loose and it has a number 23 on it, you can just go to the internet and say white pill with a number 23, and that pill's gonna pop right up. We didn't have all these luxuries back in the 90s. So these nurses, I can't understand how you're actually using the internet for studying, but yet and still, when you get out in the field in nurses on the job, you don't even use the internet as a resource. You don't have to ask a nurse jack shit. All the information that you need it should be in the policy and procedure manual for nurses, or it's online. You don't have to ask another nurse how to do shit. It's online. Matter of fact, let me just stop sharing her really quick, and then just I don't understand how nurses are just so inept to to helping themselves. You don't have to ask a nurse anything. Anything that you want to learn or that you need to know is on the internet. So let's share this screen. I'm just gonna open up just a basic blank YouTube screen. And I'm gonna put how to insert hep lock, since this seems to be what's wrong with a lot of people. Let's see how many videos come up. IV cannulation, hep lock insertion procedure, how to start an IV, how to insert an IV cannula, starting a peripheral IV catheter, IV angle of insertion. They're telling you, they're giving you the angles of insertions, right? Let's see how to insert a Foley catheter. So while you're on the phone with your boyfriend or your BFF, complaining at how the nurse won't help you and tell you how to do something, it's all here. Female Foley insertion, inserting a Foley catheter on a male. Foley catheter insertion, how to insert a catheter on a female patient demo. Inserting a Foley catheter on a female. Basic clinical skills, urinary catheterization, male. Foley catheter, they even give you real live people that they're doing it on, right? Foley insertion catheter tips, all that kind of stuff. Let's say, okay, you got a piggyback to do. How to do a IV piggyback. IV piggyback, clinical nursing skills, how to hang IV piggyback, IV piggyback, how to prime an IV piggyback by back priming method, administering IV by piggyback, real life people, how to do a primary and secondary line, including primary and and back priming, IV tubing explained. I mean, what is it that you need to know? How to do a wound packing. Say you got to pack a wound. Go on YouTube. It's here. How to pack a wound. Wound packing. Stop the bleed. How to pack a trauma wound. Wound irrigation and packing. Complex wound care sticks. Wound packing. How to cut and apply sterile new gauze packing or packing strips. Oh my God, you got a skin tear. How to what is it? How to put on steri strips. Oh my God, I've got to put some steri strips on. I've never done it before. Three steri strips skin closure application. How to apply steri strips to a laceration. Wound closure butterfly. I mean, what is it that you want to know? Application of steri strips. Wound closure with steri strips. I mean, what the heck don't you want? What do you need to know? Right? Oh, let's see. Oh my God, I went to the CPR class and I forgot how to do CPR. I forgot the steps, how to perform CPR on adults and infants in case of an emergency. Oh, I need to freshen up on that. Oh my God. CPR training from American Heart Association. How to do CPR. I mean, what do you not know, or what do you need to know? Because it's all online. So, like I said, while you're on the phone with your boyfriend, your BFF, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, taking selfies in the bathroom, uh, you know, uh, abusing your patients, whatever it is you're doing, you have so much access to the internet, right? How to do a med pass. What? Why do you need to go to another nurse for jack shit? Except for, ma'am, can you tell me where the wound, where the supply room is? Okay, you don't need to ask another nurse shit. You don't need to ask who the patient's doctor is. Go on the computer to tell you. You don't have to. You don't have to ask what you don't. You don't have to ask another nurse shit if you don't want to. Why are you always leaning on somebody else? Stand on your own 2 feet. That's what they were given to you for. Use your brain. Use the brain in your phone. You can even go to the doggone nurse's desk and get online and figure out how to do whatever the hell it is you need to do. You don't know how to change the needle in the IV port. Go online. It's on YouTube. They tell you, they show you. So, what is all the whining about? Why do I have to stop what I'm doing to tell you, give you some information that is plastered all over the internet? Why do we have such crybaby nurses, such crybaby dependent nurses? Be independent. Stop looking for somebody to hold your hand and put your pacifier in your mouth all the damn time. Do it yourself. And then we have the audacity to complain. "Oh, she didn't want to help me." I don't have to help you, ma'am. I'm not built like that. Go find somebody that's built like that. I just want to be left alone. Let me do my job. So anyway, let's continue with her because there are some other things that she was saying that I wanted to touch upon. That's crazy.
Um, that was the one thing that I really particularly could not stand because, you know, I felt like targeted for just asking a question about something. So now, if you're
You know why? And I'm just giving it to you 100. You sound stupid. You're asking stupid questions. Some people say, "Oh, there's no such thing as a stupid question." I used to say that there's no there. It is. You're stupid. You're stupid. Why are you asking me that? Go look it up. Go do some research. You didn't learn that in nursing school. Stop trying to be dependent on me. I don't want a codependent nurse relationship. Why are you here if you don't know what the fuck it is you're doing? I can see orientating to the environment. You got to know, like I said, where the supply closet is. You got to know how to use the computers. You got to know how to use the computer system. You ask me some shit that you're not supposed to know, like those types of things. Ask me where the bathroom is. Ask me where another unit is, right? Ask me what time the doctors come in, right? Ask me what time do we usually get the most admissions, okay? Quit asking me dumb, stupid ass nursing questions. Go look it up. Why don't you know? Some people are just not built like that. And me myself, I get kind of perturbed. That's, well, why are you asking me that? Go look it up. You want me to stop what I'm doing to go explain something to you that you should know, or that before you even come to me with a question, then you don't you have nursing books at home? Don't you have a nursing drug book at home? Right? You can go online if you don't know how to care plan. You can go online learn how to. Why have you not prepared yourself? You didn't do shit. You didn't do nothing to prepare yourself. You just came over here with an empty plate and you expected me to take some of my food off of my plate and put it on your plate when there is a whole fucking buffet on the internet of shit that you need. You could just go grab it. Buffet for IVs, y'all saw that. Buffet for wound care, y'all saw that. A buffet for steri strips, y'all saw that. A buffet for hanging. It's a buffet. It's a buffet of skills. But you want to come dig off my plate. And then what trips me is because I'm one of those kind of nurses. I'll tell you any question you ask me, I'm gonna help you answer it. What trips me is that now they're not asking me shit because they want to know it. Now they asking me shit because they want to see if I know it. And then every time they ask me a question and I'm able to answer it, I'm able to tell them step one, step two, step three. Now they mad. And now they go talk behind my back. Oh, she thinks she know every damn thing. Well, bitch, you're asking me every damn thing. And I'm a nurse. So shouldn't I know? And if I don't know, I'm going to tell you. And we're going to sit down at the nurse's desk and we're going to look it up and we're going to figure it out together. We're going to go to the buffet together. You're going to take your empty plate and I'm going to take my empty plate. And we're going to sit down at the computer at the nurse's desk. And we're gonna look in this buffet and figure out what it is we need to know. And we're going to put it on our plate. So like I said, a nurse that you have helped from day one will end up stabbing you in the back because now she's jealous. Huh, yeah. Then she try to eat you. And that's why it's like eat or be eaten. I don't want to eat none of y'all. Leave me alone, okay? They usually come bothering me first. Leave me alone. Then when I bother them back, oh Houston, we have a problem. Okay.
You're creating this environment where your preceptee or whatever the case may be, other nurses feel like they can't ask a question or clarify, then again, it's dangerous. Not only it's dangerous for the patients and it's dangerous for the license for nurses. So that is
Well, honey, that's your license, right? You're responsible for the information that you need to know. Don't come up in here asking those stupid ass questions. You are a registered nurse. I don't care what specialty you went in, right? Because let me tell you why I say it don't matter what specialty. Because when you're in nursing school, you have a psych rotation, you have a med surge rotation, you have an oncology rotation, you have a peds rotation, right? What else? You have an ER rotation, right? So you got psych, you got med surge, you have oncology, you got peds, and you got ER. And you also have a skilled nursing facility rotation. So all these major areas, psych is one, med surge is one, oncology is one, peds is one, ER is one, and skilled nursing is another. Matter of fact, did we do ICU? I don't think we did ICU. Did we do ICU as LPN? We did do ICU. We damn sure. You got an ICU rotation. What else? You have it, whatever your school, whatever direction your school is taking you in, you have that rotation, right? Whatever school you're in, whatever the degree is in, you have that rotation, and they all go in different directions. So all of these, I don't think ICU is an actual requirement for nursing school, but I don't know. It could have changed. It could be different or whatever. But so, with that being said, ma'am, you have had an ER rotation. ER rotation, that is a must. That is a requirement. A med surge rotation, that is a requirement. Psych, that is a requirement. Skilled nursing, that is a requirement. Pediatrics, that is a requirement, right? So, what's the problem again? What is the problem, that you didn't pay attention in school? Or what is it, right? It's like your psych patients, your med surg patients, your oncology patients, your patients, they all trickle down to us at one point in time, or maybe not. Your ICU patients, they all trickle down to a skilled nursing facility if they need continued therapy, if they need continued IV antibiotics, if they need PT, OT, ST, right? If they all trickle down to the skilled nursing facility. That is why skilled nursing is a requirement, right? Your peds, they have peds skilled nursing facilities. So, but peds is important because if you decide you're gonna work in a hospital, you gotta know, and you want to work in pediatrics, you gotta know there's all kind of clinics for pediatrics and different things of that nature. So you have to know how to work with children. But yeah, so the reason I'm saying all these areas is because this is supposed to give you all of your basic nursing skills, and then when you get out into the field, this is where you build upon them. And see, this is why I never stayed. I never worked in a hospital. I never had the desire to work in the hospital. For some reason, I just did not like the environment. I did not like the way things were run. I did not like the fast pacedness of it. I did not like that you had to do at that time. I did not like that you had to do, a head to toe assessment on all of your patients. It was just, I didn't like it. I just didn't like it, so I never did it. However, with me doing skilled nursing, even in skilled nursing, I never stayed in one nursing facility. You know why? Because as a nurse, if you stay in one skilled nursing facility, you will not be able to learn everything that you need to know in nursing. Some places do wound vac, some places don't. Some places at that time they would allow a Foley to replace a G tube if it came out. Now they don't. Um, some places they have their wound care nurses, so you'll never know how to do wounds. Some places, and then it's just you just get different. You learn the different personalities of nurses. You learn, the different personalities of the practitioners, and you learn how the DONs, because DONs are different. You learn how DONs in different facilities carry themselves. You learn different administrators. You learn different patients and different patients cultural wise, religion wise. You're not going to get everything in just staying in one nursing facility. And then for me, I can't say I always knew, but because in the beginning of my LPN, I didn't want to become an RN. But as the years went by, it was like, oh no, we gonna have to upgrade. So when I discovered that I did want to become an RN, it was like different. I needed different environments. I needed different shifts. I needed different schedules. I needed different pay. I needed a lot of different things. So by the time, so now where I am now, it's like I'm still learning, right? But I'm not learning the damn basics. The basics should be there with you, and they should stay with you to where every new place that you go, you should be able to function like a new grad. So even in the ER, if she went to the ER from oncology, she's still supposed to have retained her basic nursing skills, and she is supposed to be able to function in the ER as a new graduate. But being that she was a nurse in oncology for a year and a half, she's going to have some issues. But like I said, honey, that's when research time is to be done. That's where you take time to do a little bit of research. And then that first day or that first week that you're orientating or whatever it is you're doing, and you're like, hey, ooh, it is so much I don't know. Maybe I need to take my 4 days off and I need to come up with a refresher education plan for myself so that I can at least reintroduce myself into the things that go on in the ER so that I can have better knowledge as far as what I'm supposed to be doing and not just running around asking a bunch of stupid questions and irritating people and making them not want to be around me because my questions are stupid. They're not even they're questions that a basic nurse would ask when she's in nursing school and not actually out on the floor trying to work a job.
It's just something that I literally really made me like live it when I was working there in the ER with this preceptor. And I also brought it to my manager at the time, and she was dismissive of changing my preceptor and whatnot. So like if one, that's the experience, and then also management is not hearing my concerns, and what, like, why am I continuing to stay here?
Well, I'm all for one agreed. If the environment doesn't suit you, you don't like the way things are going, whether it's your fault or not, you should be able to make that decision to exit stage left. However, she could have gone to management, and management could have went to her preceptor and said, "Hey, what's the deal?" And she could have said she's stupid. She asked dumbass questions, and she act like she don't know what to do. She don't know how to start a health block, right? What I'm gonna do with her? She's a weak link. And management was probably like, okay, well, I'd rather lose this weak link than lose this strong link, right? And then you have and then if you flip it, sometimes you have nurses that come in and they're strong, and it's a bunch of weak links, and then so they would rather lose the strong link and keep all these weak links because the weak links know that they're weak and they stay in this environment that accepts them for being the weak nurses that they are. And a strong nurse will come in and disrupt all these weak links and be like, what the fuck is going on in here? Are all y'all stupid? And it's like, yeah, you all are all stupid. Like, what are y'all? Y'all all do the same dumb shit around here. And you're the nurse that is super nurse, super strong, super independent, super wise and different things like that. And you're looking at you like this is a bunch of stupid. No, there is such thing as stupid. There's a bunch of stupid nurses in here. And you guys are in here doing stupid shit, and these patients are suffering. And so you will come in and be having all these weak links thinking about how weak they are, and you have brought it to they thought they was just the most fabulous nurses in the world because that's what their DON was telling them. And you come in as a strong nurse and say, what the fuck kind of party y'all got going on in here? Y'all got alcohol with no punch. Y'all got butter and no popcorn. Y'all got ice cream and no bowls. Y'all got boxes, gift boxes with no gifts inside. What the hell kind of shit is going on here? What kind of party is going on? A stupid ass party. And so they'll get rid of that strong link because now she done came in and indirectly insulted everybody in the damn building, including the director of nursing. And now she got to go because she too strong for this environment. Yeah, it be like that sometimes. But yeah.
I mean, like I said, I really love the environment within the ER because it's always something new. You know what I mean? It's not mundane, so it's fast paced. So it goes by quick and it's interesting. So it's not the same thing every day, and that's honestly what I loved about it. And then honestly, also just seeing patients come in, not in the best scenario, not in the best health, and leaving in a better way or getting them help is legit.
She didn't. She wanted somebody to kiss her ass, and that nurse would not kiss her ass. And she even went to management to try to get management to make this girl kiss her ass or give her a new preceptor. And management was like, "No, no, ma'am. You ain't ever work. You're not gonna last. You're not gonna last. So you might as well just go ahead. But we're not about to disrupt the culture that's going on because you want somebody to kiss your ass." Okay, you're supposed to come into the ER. If you decided that you wanted an ER job, then that's meant that you were supposed to be prepared for an ER job. You did not prepare yourself for an ER job, ma'am. And now you want to put it off on somebody else because your nursing skills are not up to par. And we're not going to let you do that.
Just always very rewarding to me. Now, the other thing that just drove me to the brink with this job was that we had a lot of travelers at this job. Now, granted, I also worked as a traveler before, so like I completely understand it. I get it. You know, there's no issue with having.
Okay, so she said that. See, now here's the discrepancy in her story. Here's the discrepancy in her story. She said that she worked as a travel nurse. Ma'am, you worked as a travel nurse where? And you weren't up to par on your skills? You have to be one of the most confident, competent, and secure nurses to go traveling. Even if you don't have the full competence, you have to have the confidence to walk into an environment and not know the environment, not know the charting system, not know the nurses, not know basically anything in order to function and work the shift. So you were a traveling nurse going to unknown facilities, and now all of a sudden you get to the ER and now you just need all this extensive help that your preceptor wasn't giving you. This is why I say she wanted the preceptor to kiss her ass. She knew more than what she led on, but she didn't like the fact that the nurse preceptor wouldn't do small talk with her. Nobody got to talk to you about personal shit and about nothing but nursing. So now we see the truth when just let people talk. The truth will come out. The truth comes out. You just let people talk. The truth comes out. She wanted her ass. She wanted to I don't know, she wanted, I don't know, some special treatment or something. She didn't want to be treated like a nurse. She wanted somebody to do her job for her. You worked as a travel nurse, and now all of a sudden you in the ER and you don't know what to do. Hmm.
Travelers. The issue here was that majority of the staff were travelers and management did not take into consideration that their contracts were ending momentarily, right? So what happened in this case, there was a night where we literally had it was myself, my preceptor for the whole entire ER. And this was a busy night in the ER. And like, I'm like, what the heck is this? Okay. Um, Literally, we were expected to handle the whole ER. Oh, I'm sorry. It was me, my preceptor, and the charge nurse. So it was three of us for the whole entire ER. And now at this point, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, where's everybody else? And they're like, oh, the travel nurses, their contracts ended. So it's just us three. It's just me, you, and the charge nurse for the whole unit in the ER. Like, what? Like, you have to be kidding me. You cannot be serious. So now, not only was it only myself, my preceptor, and the charge nurse for the whole ER, this night we had, a patient having a heart attack. We had a patient having a stroke, needing to have TPA. We had a patient that needed to be intubated. Like, these are situations where, like, giving TPA to a stroke patient that should be one-on-one. So now you are wanting me to be with the stroke patient getting TPA, but then also at the same time taking on other critical patients as well. Now, not even, adding the fact that even on just a day of with there being quote unquote enough nurses, working out of the nurse to patient ratio, like working, like getting like, you know, a lot of patients, like more than, what should be given. And granted, I know that there's some states that have unions like California. That is a great state that I hear that adheres to nurse patient ratios a lot. But like these other states, a lot of times will truly um, give more than the what is should be allotted to each nurse as far as how many patients. So mind you, that was happening as well. But this particular night was just the most unsafe and concerning night that I ever had as a nurse. And it was terrifying to me for the patients. It was terrifying to me for my license. And I'm like, yeah, I don't play when it comes to that. So, what I had to do, I had to, at this point, we're in it. I definitely can't walk out at that point because that's patient abandonment. So I have to make it work somehow with them. And so they called in the nurse manager for the unit and the director to come in. And mind you, they haven't worked in direct patient care in so long. So that was almost.
And that's your problem right there. That's your problem right there. Now I can understand nurses being in management. And being in management, sometimes you will lose your superb nursing skills. You will lose your, sometimes you will lose your on the floor critical thinking skills. Sometimes you will lose your IV insertion skills. You will lose, um, but not to make excuses, because if you are a registered nurse, you should still have your basic nursing faculties intact. I don't care how long you've been removed from the floor, you are still supposed to be keeping your CPR card current, right? You're still supposed to know what's going on the floor, on your unit as a nurse manager, director of nursing, whatever you are in management. You're still supposed to know what's going on. And you are still supposed to be doing your CEUs, refreshing your mind on different areas of nursing. So just because you've been far removed from the floor for many, many years, you're still supposed to be able to come out on the floor and function like a new grad. There's no excuse, because the director of nurses, she's still supposed to be helping and directing her nurses wherever they are. She's still supposed to be making sure that the supply room is stocked. she's still supposed to be making sure that her nurses are educated. And if you're making sure that your nurses are educated, you're also staying educated and up to date. So there's no excuse for that. Those nurses should have been able to hop right on that floor and do what needed to be done. So they, they have all these requirements for being a director of nurses. Some facilities, like, they'll say, oh, you need to have had 1 to 2 years acute care experience, you need to have this or you need to have that, and then you can become a director of nurses. Well, excuse me, just because you're in management and you're the director of nursing and you don't have to work the floor every day does not mean you should not competently know how to work the floor, because remember, you are the director of nursing. So if a nurse came to you and said, I don't know how to work this heart monitor, your DON is supposed to be able to hop up and say, okay, well, let me show you. You do X, Y, and Z. The reason why, the facility chose this machine is because it has this certain features, and you can click this if you need that. And this is how you reset this. And this is how you make sure the machine is actually functioning. And this is how you make sure that the machine is actually stabilizing the patient, or it's giving you correct data. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. Any equipment that comes on that nursing unit, your director of nursing is supposed to know how to teach its function. If your director of nursing, if she hiring a nurse that don't know how to do an IV, she's supposed to be with that nurse, showing that nurse how to do an IV, or making sure that that nurse learns how to do IV. And me personally, I would be like, you don't know how to do an IV? Okay, well, the next IV that comes due, we're gonna do it. So how can you be a director of nursing and you don't even have the knowledge to direct your nurses? Who does that? That's stupid. That's stupid. So being in management is no excuse for not knowing how to be a nurse on the floor. How are you? What's the determining factor of you hiring your nurses? Is it because they're cute? Is it because they look good in a uniform? Is it because they wear their makeup nice, or is it because they don't wear any makeup at all? Is it because they got short hair, or they wear their hair up, or it's in a ponytail, or because they got long hair? I mean, what is it? Is it because they're your friend? What's the determining factor when you're hiring a nurse for your facility? Is it because you like her personality? Is it because she's going to be an ass kisser? Is it because she's weak? Or is it because she's strong? Why are you hiring this nurse? Because if she can't function correctly on the floor, it ain't because of her nursing skills. So what? I mean, did somebody ask you to hire her? Did somebody? What the fuck? What is it? And same thing in hiring your director of nursing. How do you hire a director of nursing who doesn't know how to direct nurses, who doesn't know how to control the floor, who doesn't know how to run the floor, who doesn't know how to make the nurses behave, who doesn't set standards for how her nurses are supposed to act? Who does that? All the problems that I'm hearing in nursing, it's because there's a lack of leadership. There's no true leadership. Why are people being hired in these positions if they do not freaking know how to lead? I'll tell you guys, I had this interview. I had this interview for director of nursing training, and it was supposed to be a training program to where you train at a facility as a director of nursing, and if the company, I guess they were buying up facilities, and they always wanted to have a DON in training, so that if buildings became available, if a director of nursing needed to be out for an emergency, or if the director of nursing quit, or if she got fired, they always had a director of nursing ready to go and sit in that place. Or if they had a new building coming up and they needed a director of nursing for it, you were going to eventually transition into that director of nursing role. So I had three interviews, right? So the third interview was interviewing with some more DONs and interviewing with some administrators, right? So there was about, I want to say, maybe 15 people in the room, and I'm interviewing. And I'm asking questions. Tell us about yourself. That cliche question, tell us about yourself. This, that, and the third. And one of the questions that stood out to me was the administrator was like, "Well, what would you say if you know the DON received multiple phone calls during her off hours from her nursing staff, something like that, to that effect?" And I said, "Well, it means that the director of nurses hasn't set her standards and expectations. It means the nurses don't know what is expected of them. So every time they run into a glitch in the system, they have to call their director of nursing." And so he was like, "Huh, I'm going to have to tell my DON that." And I was like, "Oh, wow. I didn't know you were talking about a real person." Like, I mean, I said, you have to know, you want to know as a director of nursing what's going on in your building at all times. But then there's just, if you set your standards and your expectations for your nurses, you won't need to be called all hours of the night for nursing issues, because your nurses will know what you expect of them. And so at the by the time everything was said and done, the interview was over. And then so the DON was like, "Oh, the one that interviewed me, she was like, oh, well, I'll let you know what they said, this and the third." So she I had to reach out to her and say, "Hey, what happened? You forgot? Did you guys forget about me? What did they say no?" And so then she texted me back and was like, "Oh, well, they said that you don't quite have leadership or leadership. Let me see. What is
not um, really effective either. Like I don't know where the thoughts of the management were. You know what I mean? To not take into consideration that the travel nurses, their contracts were were ending all at the same time. Like, I know that's not a surprise. Like, there's literally, it's a contract. There's dates set in stone for when their contracts will be ending and when they're leaving. So to not put a plan into action for that and have either other travel nurses or nurses hired on, or float nurses, or whatever the case may be, to handle the patient load was the most irresponsible thing to me. And it just only took one night of that craziness for me to determine that was not the place for me to continue at. So I did end up, we had our main ER, then we also had a standalone center that we would rotate in between. So the next day I went to the standalone ER, which is more, because it's
That was dangerous too, to put the nurses and the patients at risk like that. Um, Even though the manager and the director of nursing came in, I don't know if they came in that night or they came in the next night, but that was crazy to have put those patients and those nurses at risk like that. And you know, that should not have occurred. They should have had some agency on deck and called some nurses in. Maybe they couldn't find no nurses to come in, but she is absolutely right. Somebody did not plan well, and they just left them out there in the ocean with a damn raft and some life jackets, and that's it. Right? And help was nowhere to be found. That was very dangerous, and that's fucked up to do nurses like that. To not have a plan in place for when those contracts expire. Those travel nursing contracts expire. But nurses don't like the way things are going, and I don't know who's the head who's the head nigga in charge of these different things that's going on in these nursing facilities. But it kind of sounds like things need to change, because I don't, who was that nurse? Some nurse drove off the garage balcony thing. I don't know if she was tired or what. Let me try and look that up and see. Oh, yeah, here we go. Let's look at this story real quick. How the doggone nurse drove off the top floor of the doggone garage because she was tired. Let's look at this. That's 20 minutes. This one is 5.
Lives off the roof of the hospital parking garage, crashing her car. She was badly hurt.
And tonight, local nurses say it's a prime example of exhausted frontline healthcare workers putting their own lives at risk after too many hours on the job. The story came to us as a tip. Boston 25 News reporter Jim Morelli got answers from the hospital in Jamaica Plain.
I really sympathize with the nurse, and I can certainly understand how it happened.
Nurses say what happened is a dramatic example of the effects of fatigue in healthcare workers. A spokesman for the Massachusetts Nurses Association confirms that a nurse did drive off the roof of the Brigham and Women's Faulkner parking garage. Boston police say they responded to Faulkner early the morning of May 17th and found a heavily damaged vehicle, part of the garage guardrail missing, and a driver with significant injuries, including broken bones. Mass General Brigham says they're investigating the incident. A source tells Boston 25 News it happened when an exhausted on-call nurse fell asleep with her car in reverse.
I don't think people realize how exhausting this job is.
Registered nurse Rebecca First retired from Newton Wellesley Hospital a few years ago after a 40-year career. She says the public underestimates the emotional and physical toll on nurses, moving heavy patients, the stress of life-saving procedures, and coping with death.
I mean, I have driven home from working nights with the window open, slapping my face to keep myself awake.
Nurses make up the largest portion of the healthcare team, but studies make clear that stress, fatigue, and lack of adequate staffing are having an impact on those numbers. The American College of Nursing recently reported that a quarter of registered nurses plan to leave the profession one way or another in the next 5 years.
It was a 22-mile drive for me when I worked, and I was exhausted. And you don't want to get into an accident. There's got to be a different way. There's got to be a different way.
In Jamaica Plain, Jim Morelli for your local station, Boston 25 News.
Wow.
Lives off the roof of the
Wow. Yeah. She was the on-call nurse. The on-call nurse. Working the shit out of her to save some money. Instead of hiring nurses and paying us so that we can take care of ourselves. And it's having on-call nurses so that you don't have to hire nurses. You're supposed to hire nurses. You're supposed to have nurses to cover every available shift. Full-time or part-time or per diem nurses to work every shift. There should be no on-call. How you going to be on-call and you just got off work? You just finished a work week. And now you mean to tell me you don't get to get complete rest? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. If it was an 8-hour shift, if you worked 8-hour shifts, that's different. 8-hour shifts takes a different toll on your body, right? You can work 8 hours and then go home, sleep about 4 or 5 hours, and then somebody call you and say, hey, you got to come in for night shift because we had a nurse call off. And then you could go work another 8 hours and be fine. And then come home and get some sleep, get about 6 hours sleep, and then continue on. But it's them 12s that are killers. I worked 3 12s night shift for about 2.5, almost 3 years. And I tell you, I worked Friday, I worked Saturday, and I worked Sunday nights. Now, when I got off on Sunday, it was like, I'm so sleepy, right? You get a little burst of energy because you don't have to go back to work that night. But when you finally do get to sleep, I would sleep until about 5 or 6. Then I would wake up because I'm used to being up at 6. I would wake up, I would stir around the house till probably about midnight. And then I would go to sleep. And then on Monday, you have to get up in the morning, take your kids to school. You come back, and what do? You go back to sleep. Then you got to get up at 2:30 to go pick your kids up from school. And then you come back and you stop at fast food place and get some food, or you cook dinner and then you eat. And what happens? You go back to sleep. Tuesday, you do the same thing because you're still tired. You have not gotten unbreakable sleep. Same thing happens. Wednesday, I'm just like, I'm still tired. I'm stirring around. I might do a little bit of laundry. I might or might not wash the dishes. Who knows? I might feel like cooking on that day. And then, take another nap, take my naps and different things, and then stay up till about midnight again, and then go to sleep on Thursday. Now, on Thursday, I'm up at 4 in the morning. I'm rested. I'm feeling refreshed. I'm up at 4, stirring around, take the kids to school, come back. I'm up, I'm making sure, I have my work clothes ready for the week, because mind you, it's Thursday and now I finally got some energy. But then Friday I have to go back to work, and it's so I would not totally recover from those 312s until Wednesday. So unfortunately, whenever they would ask me to work on my days off, I would have to say no. I would say no, I'm sorry, I can't. No. Until they just figured, don't call her because she's going to say no. And rightly so, because I needed my rest. And so um about a month ago, about a month and a half ago, there was a nurse I used to work with. I worked with her from 2 to 10. Right, I work with her from 2 to 10 p.m. Now this was an older nurse. I think she was in like her 50s or something like that. Yeah, 50s leaning into her 60s. And she was an LPN. And she would never take a day off. I mean, but it was only 8-hour shifts. So I mean, you can do eights. You can do as many eights as you want to. It's only 8 hours. It's like being up for the day or being up for the evening every evening, right? She worked. I mean, she barely had days off. She got in trouble one day for working a shift that they said they didn't approve her to work. But it was like, when did you figure out you didn't approve her to work? Before she started work, while she was at work, or when she finished work? So y'all let her work the whole shift, and then you're gonna write her up because she supposedly worked the shift and she wasn't supposed to work the shift. Well, who was going to work the shift if she wasn't there and she wasn't supposed to be there? So anyway, I guess it came out that she was supposed to work the shift, or I don't know how they worked that out. But anyway, so she eventually, went to another facility, because I went to that facility and saw her there. And this was a 12-hour shift facility. Yep, this was a 12-hour shift facility. And I bet you that girl never took a day off. Matter of fact, there was another LPN that worked there, and she was always there. It's like, do you broads ever get some sleep? Like, what are y'all doing to yourselves? Like, you got your bills are that horrendous that you can't take a day off? Or is it that you like being at work? Or is it that you're working towards a goal? Or what is it? Because y'all always here. Y'all don't need no sleep. Like, when are you sleeping? What are you doing? So anyway, about a month and a half ago, I heard that she had a heart attack on the job and died. Y'all, she had a heart attack on the job and died. And she wasn't the first nurse that I knew of that had a heart attack on the job and died. See, it's fine. You think you're fine, or you think you can do it, right? But you're hurting yourself. Working all these shifts, you're literally hurting yourself, and you don't know it. Don't you know your heart needs some rest itself? When you're up all day, every day, and not just up sitting around, you're passing meds, you're working, you're passing meds, you're doing AccuChecks, you're talking on the phone to doctors and nurse practitioners, and you're talking to families, and you're talking to patients, and you're helping pass trays, and you're doing IVs, and you're faxing to the pharmacy, and you're calling in labs, and you're calling in lab orders and x-ray. That shit, your heart is pumping, 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 and then you barely have time to go to the bathroom, so you're holding your urine for about maybe 8 hours out of that 12-hour shift. So your kidney functioning is backing up, right? So I mean, that first heart attack story I heard, that was before this one. I already knew, I'm not about to have a heart attack. You're not about to kill me and then hire a nurse the next day for my fucking job. No. No. The number one thing nurses need to remember is that you need to do what's best for you, not what's best for a facility. Now, you are supposed to do what's best for the facility while you're at work, but when it comes to your personal life, your peace, and your rest, you are supposed to think about that. And your family, the job don't think about that. They think about their bottom line. It's for you to think about your family and the things that you need to do. So if a job is not going to pay you enough to take care of your family and your needs, and you're going to end up having to work overtime all the time, if you can do it, hey, I say more power to you. But if that's not something you want to do, you need not take the job. You need not take the job. Yeah, the money is nice. The money is gravy when you can go shopping and buy all these materialistic things. But I'm cool with just being able to pay my bills and feed my family, and go to the Dollar General or the Family Dollar and the Dollar Tree and Walmart, and maybe do a little shopping online every now and again. I don't need to have the luxury car. I don't need to have the luxury expensive apartment. I don't need to have the designer clothes. I don't need none of that. What I need is to make sure that my health and safety remain intact. Right? So, I mean, let's look at some of these comments on this video and what they say. Oh, 0. Okay, let me find another. There was another one. This is a 20-minute. Let's see. We don't need to listen to it again. Let's just see if they got some comments. So, Mr. Burt 718 said, I am a male nurse, and I promise you that thought, it may seem to be beautiful from the outside. The truth is that we are overworked. They claim to have a shortage, but they are picky when it comes to hiring. What did I just say? What did I just say? They be turning nurses down. And then sometimes nurses are like, oh, no, that's not enough pay. That's not enough pay. That's not a good deal for me. The only one that's going to benefit from this deal is the job. The nursing home is worse. You try your best to take care of the elderly, but it's never enough. The Filipino managers gang up on you when they, oh my God, when they don't like you. It's filled with petty politics. It's literally high school all over again. It is high school. Nursing is high school. They are quick to drop you if you're not from the union. I pray for whoever is in the front lines. The stress is ridiculous. Nurses need to demand 8-hour shifts again. Hallelujah. What did I just say? Nurses need to demand 8-hour shifts again. These 12-hour shifts are ridiculous. What did I just say? What did I just say? It's so we have less weekends. Also, the pay ends up higher due to it. Pounding the cement for 12 hours, 3 to 4 days a week is unsustainable. Did that, been there. 8-hour shifts can be much more tolerable. That's right. It's the shifts. It's the 12-hour shifts. I think it depends on what unit you work on and even the location. I'm in New York City. I wouldn't trade my 12 hours for 8. I've been a nurse for 16 years with the same facility. I hated med-surg where I started and would have quit if I had to do 5 days. Imagine having to possibly work with people you don't want to work with. Plus, I think the commute is better when you do 12 hours. You miss the rush hour going home. You can give yourself long stretches and whatever other perk for your area. Well, see, sometimes it just depends on the person. But I know coming from 8-hour shifts in the 90s, I noticed that nurses were happier. We were we worked together better. We were less stressed. We weren't tired. We didn't mind working overtime. We didn't mind working that double shift. If somebody called out, we were like, oh yeah, I'll stay. Sure, I'll stay. We helped each other more. We taught each other more. We were just available for each other more. Them 12-hour shifts, it's like, leave me the fuck alone. I don't want to be bothered. I don't know. Go ask somebody else. Can you please let me finish passing my meds and not interrupt me? You know, all that. You're short tempered. You're all that stuff with them 12s. It's crazy. You be wanting to snap people's heads off. According to two RN friends of mine, they don't want the 8-hour shifts. The 12-hour shifts pay more and they prefer the extra stretch of days off. 12-hour shifts do not pay more. Okay. This person, I don't know who these nurses are that did not do their math, but say, for example, we're going to do the 45 again. If we did 45 times 72 hours for the 2 weeks, that's $3,240, right? If we did $45 times 80, we get $3,600, right? Because 8-hour shift, 40-hour week, right? You get more. And then if they take out their little 400 or whatever they're gonna take out, you still get $3,200. That's enough to pay your rent, do whatever it is you need to do, and then still have some money left over for the 2 weeks and be able to. You're still gonna be struggling, but you're still gonna have more money to work with for those 2 weeks while you're waiting for your next check to come in. So I mean, you got to not only do the research, you got to do your math. Right? You have to do your math. The only way you're going to get paid more doing 12-hour shifts is working an extra 12-hour shift. And now you don't work 4 12s, you're tired, you're exhausted, you have no life. You know, I don't know if these nurses that like these 12-hour shifts and be working, I don't know if they're on amphetamines. I hate to accuse nurses of being on drugs, but what are you taking that you can just stay up for these long periods of time, for days at a time, and it not affect you? Right? Most nurses do not want to work 8-hour shifts. I've only heard of 2 nurses that prefer to work 8 hours versus 12, and on my 14 years in the field. Yeah, I don't. It's funny because all nurses complain of the long hours, no rest, stress, hence leaving the field. My suggestion is to lessen the hours, hence physical stress on the feet and mind. That's right. That's right. Somebody said working 12-hour shifts really is, oh, they're having a back and forth. They're having a back and forth. Working 12-hour shifts really isn't that bad, especially considering that nurses in long-term care might be on their feet for only 4 to 5 hours of the 12. An 8-hour workday means less money, more days spent at work, and less time to enjoy personal life outside of work. No, that's not true. That's not true at all. Nurses that want 8 hours should work for a doctor office, school, become a teacher, or just seek 8-hour shifts at facilities that still offer them. 12-hour shifts are greater for those that like to pick up and enjoy days off. I mean, it can work both ways. I agree. Now, I agree with that wholeheartedly. If you want 8-hour shifts, go find somewhere that does 8-hour shifts, but also keep the 12-hour shifts available. However, what I'm saying is that there are more 12s than there are 8s. There's more 12-hour facilities than there are 8-hour facilities. So if you're that nurse wanting to do only 8 hours, it's very difficult to find an 8-hour shift, especially when they're being picky with nurses, right? You can't just go work in a clinic or a school. It's not that simple. How many school nurses do you need? 1, right? It's not easy to go work in teaching because teaching might be 8-hour shifts at the school, but you're spending a massive amount of extra hours preparing for your lessons and grading papers, right? Because I've been a teacher before, so you got to prepare that lecture, and you have to it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work involved in that. So no, teaching is not, it's not the 8-hour shift job that you want. And you have to be at school before your class. You can't walk into class and your class is there and you're not. So if school starts at 8, you need to at least be there by 7:30, or at least by 7 if you really want to get set up really good in your class, right? So no. And then being a teacher at school, you're on your feet giving lectures the majority of the time, or walking around the classroom making sure nobody's cheating on their tests. It's a lot of on your feet. Not to mention, you have to go and do clinicals. So no, not at all. Most places, a 12-hour shift is straight time, not OT, except California. Had a love-hate relationship with it. Didn't like the long shifts, but was only at the hospital 3 days a week instead of 4 to 5, so less chance for them to mess with you with mandatory OT at the last minute. Stuck working 16-hour shift due to shortage. So glad I finally listened to my body. Listen to your body. Yep, my health, and quit end of 2020. And that's exactly what I did. Is I started listening to my body, and not only listening to my body, but listening to my family. Not so much verbally, but physically listening to my family, right? So they may not have voice. Oh, mom, we don't want you to go to work and this and the third, but you can see it. You can see if you know your kids, you paying close to your kids, you can see the relief in them when you're at home versus you having to go to work. So I mean, yeah. Was she From what I've witnessed, the entire healthcare administration system must be scrapped and rebuilt. What did I just say? What did I just? So it's not just me. I'm out here thinking like I'm a freaking unicorn. Like I'm the only one who thinks this way. Like I'm the only one who sees this stuff. No, there's a lot of us who see it. This administration system needs to be scrapped and rebuilt. I don't know who took over. I don't know how the fuck they took over, but it's garbage. It's garbage. They don't care about the nurses. They don't care about the patients. They only care about the money, right? They're picky in hiring. It take a long time to get a goddamn job. They blackball you. You're on a blackball list. Why? Because you wouldn't let them treat you how they wanted to treat you because you stand up for yourself. Yeah, okay. Um, wow, it's a miracle she survived. Yep, hope she's recovering. Yep. The level of care from overworked, sleep deprived nurses is deadly. There is no care. It's half-assed. They're tired, right? Yeah. I'm a nurse for 47 years. I quit hospital when they moved to 12-hour shifts. The stress is unbelievable and cannot be fully explained. I am semi-retired and work home health care and love it. I know you do, baby girl. 47 years. You should be nominated for sainthood. That's right. I just left IPR about a month ago. Before that, I worked at assisted living and memory care. I worked at a nursing home for a week and I quit because of the ridiculous ratio of CNA to residents. All of these environments are toxic, with snuff being the worst. I worked at a group home, but it was shut down due to non-compliance with state regulations. I work as a hospice aide, palliative care, and I love it as well. No heavy caseload, and I love one-to-one ratio. I'll never return back to the environments above unless I'm a sitter or providing palliative care. Oh, I'm a registered nurse for 12 years. Best, worst decision of my life. What? Honestly, thank you for all that you do. I was hospitalized last November for 10 days. They ended up putting 2 chest tubes in me. It sucked, very painful, but the nurses were absolutely incredible. I couldn't believe how patient and understanding they were, and very caring, made me feel like they cared. I have a lot of respect for nurses now. You guys deserve to be treated better. Wow, that's wonderful when you hear that coming from a patient, a former patient. Mm, mm, mm. But yeah, my neighbor is a nurse, and early one morning, she was on her way home, made it into the parking lot of our apartment complex, and fell asleep at the wheel. Oh, she hit 3 cars in the parking lot, including mine, before being able to stop. When police knocked to let us know what happened, I came down to her in tears. I felt so bad for her. I've been a CNA for 20 years and I know how exhausting nursing is. Cars are replaceable, but valuable caring people are not. Nursing care is in need of major changes. And that is so true. Have I ever fallen asleep? I've never fallen asleep behind the wheel. Um, but sometimes when I get home from work, I do sit in the car for like sometimes 30 minutes to an hour. Cause I'm like, whew. Sometimes I will just sit there and be like, man, yeah, yeah. Mm-mm. Um, RN in Miami and finally made my way home from a long, miserable 14-hour shift. I pulled in the driveway and immediately fell asleep with my foot on the brake. Yes, it happened. Being tired, coupled with sleep deprivation, is an insane recipe for disaster. Yeah, I mean, it's just um, woke up in the car, hit the house. Thank God I was not hurt. Nursing can be brutal at times. Oh, woke up when the car hit the house. Oh my God. Healthcare was not meant to be big business, investors' paradise. It has been almost totally divested of its humane element. Yep. So glad I made my exit years ago. God help us. Yep. Yep. My sister is a nurse and she's tired all the time too. 12-hour shifts are too long. They take so much out of her, and her feet hurt after every shift. Yep. It makes no sense to do this to people who are supposed to be clear in their thinking while they treat and administer to patients. Yep. It's not helping anyone, leaving them exhausted like that. That's right. And that's why when I did my 312s, do not call me, please. I will call you if I need some extra time, but please do not call me. I know it felt like I wasn't a team player, but the feet thing, oh hell yeah. There were times where I would take my shoes off and be walking around a damn facility with my socks on. It would feel so good. And not just me, other nurses too. We're like, oh, you ain't got your shoes on either. Nope. Because it's that freaking bad. Like your feet are swollen, your ankles hurt, your feet are throbbing, right? Passing meds, you're on your feet. And it's horrific because at this job that I did for 12 hours, I passed meds, I did IVs, I did admissions, I did it all. And it's hell on your feet, especially when you're not used to being on your feet anymore passing meds. So you could go 3 4 weeks 3 months without having to pass meds, and then all of a sudden boom, you had a nurse that called off. And I swing into action. Okay, well these patients got to get their medication, so I gotta go ahead and do this. So I get up off my ass and I go past those meds. But I tell you, by the time I finish and I sit down and my feet is like, bitch, why you do this to us? Help. And then I have to take my shoes off and I have to walk around the facility with my socks on because it's that detrimental. So no, it's serious. No, no, ma'am. I'll be like, please don't call me. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I already work Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, so I never get to take my kids anywhere at all. I don't get to party. I don't get to club. I don't get to, go out dancing and have a freaking good time on the weekends. Right. So please allow me my week with my kids. And, if I want to have a glass of wine, which I really don't, but if I decide I want to have a glass of wine, please allow me to do so. Right. Like I said, I would not recover until Wednesday, and then finally I have Thursday off that I'm recuperated. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I want to do something, and then bam, I gotta go to work Friday the next day, right? So it's like no. Even working those 312s, there was a lot of self neglect. There was a lot of neglect of my home, right? Which I have yet to come out of. So it's like there's long-term effects to these 12-hour shifts, and especially if you have to work overtime just to make ends meet. And as a nurse, a registered nurse at that, we should not be struggling to make ends meet. And we're freaking registered nurses. Because we give a lot of ourselves. We give a whole lot of ourselves, and we deal with a lot. So to be a registered nurse making ends meet, that's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. My wife was an emergency room nurse. She took leave for 6 months and cried when it was time to go back. Well, she is a nurse teacher now and is very happy. Means I'm very happy. Yep. Yep. Hmm. They exploit the patients as well as their staff. Oh, well, yeah. Well, I am a retired nurse. I worked from the 80s to 2015. I think there were always moments when nursing was grueling, but RNs were more often responsible for higher level care back in the day. Now they have to do it all, even what the nurses' age used to be responsible for. Yep. They got to do it all now. They were responsible for higher level care, but that is a result of them um getting rid of the LPNs in the hospital, right? So you got to remember, they did away with LPNs, so they might have some LPNs still working, but the majority is registered nurses. So without the LPNs, now the registered nurses have to do everything. Yeah. So my retired nurses have lots of health problems related to the mental and physical stress and physical labor. Yep. In the 90s, I like these past stories because I know I was a 90s nurse. So I was a late 90s nurse, but nevertheless, a 90s nurse. In the 90s, I was working rotating 12-hour shifts as a labor and delivery nurse. If there was a difficult labor or sick baby, the shifts could often go beyond the 12 hours. Yep. One morning, after dealing with a difficult labor and sick baby, in which I stayed over 2.5 hours, I left work and was so tired. I pulled out of the parking lot, forgetting the icy road, and slid clear out into the main road and traffic. Mm. By some miracle, all the other cars were able to maneuver to miss me. I realized I was not really completely awake as I pulled myself together after the incident. I'm sure I'm not alone in that type of experience. Oh hell no, not one bit. When I started in the 80s, RNs still wore the white uniforms, cutie pie, even caps and pins to show their professional status. Right. It may seem silly now, but it gave nurses a level of respect that set them apart. Mhm. A lot of hospitals were also church or spiritually run. That all changed over time, and the business model made the hospitals more of a money driven business and nurse just another cog in the wheel. That is so true. That is so true. And one of the reasons that I will agree with her is when I'm just even working in skilled nursing, the level of respect, the level of disrespect. And, usually that's top down, shit rolls downhill. So it's like you'll have the director of nursing. She has no respect for none of the freaking nurses on the unit. She got more respect for the CNAs than she do the RNs, than her RNs. And it's like, okay, bitch, well, I'm calling off and you get your ass on this floor and work. How about that? Right? Because there's no need for that. The chain of command is gone unless you want to make a freaking complaint, right? The staff on the floor that's supposed to be under you don't respect you. The DON doesn't make them respect you because, mind you, they're her freaking nurses. She hired them, right? She only wants them to respect her or him, right? Um, so when it comes to you being a supervisor, that's just bullshit. That's just for you to be a warm person in the facility to handle the shit that the other nurses can't, or to have your license in the building as a registered nurse, but you don't get the respect that you're supposed to get, right? So you're not, I don't know what you're supervising, because the motherfuckers on the floor don't listen to you. They turn their nose up to you. They get an attitude. They report you and tell you it's a hostile environment. She's picking on me. She's bullying me. She's showing special attention. All this kind of shit. It's like bullshit. It's hogwash. So why not? What's the deal? What's the deal when you're a registered nurse? You're supposed to be competent and you're supposed to be the one that's running the floor while the director of nursing is not there, but yet and still the staff don't respect you. Oh, okay. Yeah, the level of respect for registered nurses has dwindled away with, I guess, what she said, this new business model. And it's no longer run by churches and spiritual entities. It's run by layman's people who don't give a shit about nothing but a damn check. Okay. And that is why the nursing field has gone to hell in a handbasket. So, yeah, now they squeeze more work out of nurses and they have less auxiliary staff to assist them. The more patients per nurse, less respect to the nurses, less personalized patient care, too much emphasis on computerized care, etc. The patient loses out as well. That is so true. So let's see. I know this live is long, but I wasn't even intending to do all this, but it's just I'm playing it by ear. I think you hit on what so many other people have not mentioned. The white uniforms and caps. Oh my God, it was so special. It was so special. There's just something about those that did bring respect. My mother is 80 years old and a retired nurse who proudly wore her white uniform. Even when they switched, she had a hard time giving up the white. The respect is what is missing in this career 100%. I worked 10 years on med surg floor, but it truly is like an abusive relationship. And it is. It is. Registered nurses, we get no more respect at all. They call us supervisors and charge nurses and shit, and in charge of nothing. I guess just be in charge of your damn self and supervise yourself. Because when you try to be in charge of the unit, it fails. When you try to supervise, it fails. Nobody wants to listen. Everybody wants to do their own thing. They're nasty. They're unprofessional. They don't know what they're doing, and nobody gives a rat's ass as long as the checks keep rolling in. It's horrific, but the checks keep rolling in and the patients keep dying. Okay. So it's funny. I was just having this conversation with my neighbor. I was saying how the money establishment has completely tore up the nursing hierarchy. I'm an LPN, but as an LPN, you start your career on the cart and end your career on the cart. Some of us like that, and we like the extra shifts. They were 8 hours. The RN was the house manager or unit manager. She was there to push drugs. We couldn't. Yep. She was there to push drugs. We couldn't get a hold of the doctor, manage the floor, and supervise issues. But when they made everyone a BSN, the pay in the state of Virginia was nothing because everyone was a BSN. One facility I worked at for a few years 52 patients in the middle of the night on a long-term care unit by myself with only 3 CNAs. And if they wanted to keep the census up, sometimes we got skilled patients straight out of the hospital, and then sometimes the poor CNA suffered because if they didn't have enough for the skilled unit, they took one off my floor. So now it's 2 CNAs for 52 patients and 1 nurse. So true. Retired critical care nurse here. 12-hour shifts easily turned into 14 hours. Yep. No breaks. Awful on the mind and body. My body is beat up from it. I had to retire from all the health issues I had. Plus, the job gives you PTSD, especially ER and ICU. We see things we can't unsee. Yep. There is a lot of abuse from fellow staff and families of patients, along with some patients. Love taking care of people. It's just really tough and stressful job. This is why you need your days off, right? This is why you need your days off uninterrupted. Do not call me. Do not call me and ask me any nursing questions. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. I am home. I am not working. If you would like to know something or if you need some information, please wait until I return to work and then bother me then. On my days off, I'm allowed by law days off, uninterrupted rest so that I can remain a competent nurse and take care of my patients properly. Right? Period. So yeah, let's bring back rest for the nurses, right? Because they work the dog shit out of you and they don't even care about you. They'll fire your ass the next day. Bye, bitch. Even though we worked your ass for the last 3 years and you done had a heart attack, you done had a mini stroke, you got PTSD. Bye, bitch. We don't need you no more. That's how they do you. Excuse my language. I'm an RN and I just quit my job and I don't work in the hospital. I have been an RN first over 20 years and was an LPN and CNA prior. Nurses are so taken for granted. The business of healthcare puts nurses last and will sacrifice you and your license just to make or save a buck. Yep. As a RN, I have options and therefore I choose to use them. I mean, yeah, yeah. What would we do without nurses? I think they are more important than some doctors because after surgery, etc., they are the ones who keep us alive. Please pray for our nurses and be kind patients. Well, I don't know if we're more important than doctors because, the doctor is top notch. So we need the doctor. We can't do without the doctor. I'm a former. This is interesting. I'm just staying on here. I think I'm gonna end this live in a minute, but this is some interesting stuff. I'm a former CNA, which is just as abused as nurses are. I have been called in on days off, forced to work 12 hours to a double shift, been hit, punched, kicked, slapped, pinched, and etc. The thing is, every medical facility is required by law to have so many nurses, CNAs on staff. The problem is they get around that by having an on-call list. This way, on paper, it looks like they meet the legal requirements, but often the on-call people don't want to come in when called. Edited to add that it's not called a psych ward anymore, but behavioral health unit. Yep. Let me see. Wow. Yeah. I was a nursing student 27 years ago. The instructors were abusive bullies, hated and feared by most, if not all. Their students, myself included, even their graduates working at the local hospital spoke negatively about them. I got kicked out of the program after the first semester with an F grade, despite the fact that I'd earned a B. I didn't even have to fight that all the way up to the college president. Everything had been well documented. So the dean of institution concurred that I'd earned a B grade and allowed it to stick. Therefore, I prevailed in the end. However, I made no attempt to re-enter the program and complete my training. I'd already had enough of their crap. I could keep the grade I'd earned and at least leave the program with some measure of dignity. Now, all these years later, listening to this, I feel it was a blessing in disguise that I never completed my training. I would not have lasted as an RN. Between the insane hours and abusive work conditions. Even as a student nurse working at the hospital, I saw the shit nurses were taking from doctors, and it was a turnoff. I've a low tolerance for abuse and don't handle stress well. In retrospect, those bullying instructors did me a huge favor. Here's the thing with that. You can't, we can't be in charge of people's lives and expect to be babied, right? You got to be tough. You have to be tough. You can't be a wimp, right? And this is what we've produced a lot of nowadays. And I bet you a lot of people that went to school in the 60s, 70s, and 80s will tell you that this new generation, these 2000 babies, they're wimps, they're crybabies, they're punks, they're weasels, they're all of the above. And I'm not saying that in a negative fashion. What I'm saying is that when I was in school, you had to be tough. That was how you were going to make it in life, right? You can't not have something go your way and then go run in a corner and start crying. You can't just because somebody said, "Oh my god, your hair is ugly." "Oh, I'm being bullied." That's somebody giving their fucking opinion, right? Just because a group of girls don't like you doesn't mean that you're being bullied. It means that if you go your own way, that's just wasn't the group of girls that you were to be around. But if they don't like you and they're teasing you and they're constantly pushing you around, messing with you, saying mean things to you, that's bullying, right? We even have bullying misconstrued nowadays, right? So, I mean, like I said, it's like everything is meow, 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 meow. Oh, it's gonna be okay. Oh, that was wrong. You shouldn't have did that. Oh, it's toxic. It's like, God damn, will you people grow some balls? How are you gonna take care of people and you need somebody to take care of your emotions? You can't even stand up for yourself. You gotta run and have somebody always standing up for you. You can't hack it. It's what they called it in my day. You can't hack it. If you can't stand the heat, get out the kitchen. And these nursing instructors, they're there to help you learn how to handle the heat. Nobody likes you at work. Nobody cares about your dead dog. Nobody cares that, nobody cares about anything in your personal life. We're not here for that. You know what I'm saying? Take your personal garbage or your personal baggage and leave it at home, right? When you come to work, you have to be confident, you have to be fierce, you have to be competent, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to be confident that you're doing the right thing. And you also have to advocate for your patients. So, how can you advocate for your patients when you need somebody to advocate for you all the damn time? It doesn't make any sense to me. So I mean, it's just like, who's gonna toughen you up? Who's gonna show you how to win against that bully if you never have to come across a bully? Who's gonna tell you stop whimpering in a corner all the doggone time? Who's gonna pull you out that corner and make you stand up for yourself and teach you how to stand up for yourself? Because I'm not in a business standing up for everybody. Now, if I see something that's unfair, yeah, I might say something, but I'm not about to be pulling out guns and knives and shit. You pull your own guns and knives out and defend yourself. So, I mean, it's just like, everything is bullying. Oh, she told me I wasn't passing my meds right. She's bullying me. Oh, she told me that, I'm supposed to wash my hands after, jailing 5 times. She's so mean. Yeah, god damn. So it's like on top of all this madness, you guys, nobody even taught you how to do your skills correctly. And even if they did, nobody's making sure you adhere to them. And even if they don't, you won't even hold yourself accountable and do what you know you're supposed to do. You lack integrity. What kind of nursing field is that? This is not a nursing field anymore. It's just a job where you come and own your own practice, no matter how stupid it is, or no matter how dirty it is, or no matter how wrong it is. it's like a free for all. There's no structure, there's no chain of command. Everything is interpreted as bullying and toxic and hostile. I don't know who's running this bullshit nowadays, but it needs to stop. That's why you got so many patients complaining and dying and sicker than they were when they got to the damn building. It's crazy. I was hospitalized for yeah, he came up here and said the story twice. Okay. I'm a nurse's aide, and I think it's like slavery what we go through. It is. It's slavery and narcissism. The job is a narcissist. You be careful. There are some facilities that are narcissistic in nature. They love bomb you when you first get there. Then when they're love bombing you, so you're willing to do whatever they want you to do. You're willing to work overtime, you're willing to take extra patients, you're willing to help everybody out and this, that, and the third. And then when you get tired and you want a little rest and you tell somebody no, now they hate you. They don't want you around. Then the discard, they get you fired. It's narcissistic in nature. When you start to stand up for yourself, then the smear campaign starts. It's narcissistic. Um, I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse's aide, and I think it's like slavery, what we go through, and how the state and the institution company gives you all these rules on how to do your work, and they never test it out themselves to see if it's humanely possible to perform it. And they don't pay us what we're worth. Now, here's the thing with that. In long-term care, when you have 30, 40 plus patients to pass medications to, that's not realistic, right? And you have to do your weekly summaries, plus your antibiotic documentation, plus your fall documentation, plus your MD orders, plus your lab and different things like that. Your lab, it's not. But when you're talking about skilled nursing, oh, there's plenty of time. It's called time management. People have poor time management, and there's no one there to make sure they're managing their time accordingly. So you could have a CNA, say, for example, on a day shift, she could have 10 patients. Why are 5 of her patients soaking wet? What has she been doing for the last 4 hours, 4 or 5 hours, right? You come in at 6. You take your vital signs until 7. You pass trays. You have breakfast until 8, 8:30. You go around and you make a round on your patients, and everybody is not incontinent, right? Everybody's not total care, right? Everybody's not max assist, right? You got some patients that are independent. They just want you to, make their bed or something like that. But ma'am, why are 5 of your patients soaking wet like you have not touched them all day? What have you been doing? Right? You got some nurses. Your patient's complaining of pain. Okay. They give the patient the medication. Then you are looking at the MAR, reviewing the MAR as supervisor, and you're like, I could have swore that because you want to make sure she gave the patient their pain medication, and because you want to follow up like a prudent nurse would do. So first you look at the MAR before you start going to question the nurse. Did you give them the pain medication? But if you see it on the MAR, then there's nothing to question. So you look at the MAR and it's like there's no PRN signed for, or there's no PRN enter into the computer, documented with the pain level and different things of that nature. And you go to the nurse and you say, did you give so-and-so a pain medication? Now, this might be 2 to 4 hours later, or you know what I'm saying? Or two hours later. And she's like, oh yeah, I gave him a pain pill. And it's like, okay, but, oh, The reason I'm asking, because you got to give them a reason that you're asking, or they think you're bullying them, they think you're picking on them. The reason I'm asking is because I was doing a little follow up and I looked into the computer and I noticed that nothing had been entered. Oh, yeah, I haven't documented it yet. Okay, why the fuck not? What have you been doing? And so you just kind of, huh? Okay, well, make sure you get that documented and make sure you know you're gonna have to back time that so that it coincides with the time that you gave the medication. Okay, yeah, I know. No, the fuck you don't know, because if you knew, you would have documented the shit 2 hours ago in real time when you gave the patient the medication, right? But I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's going on. So when you say it's humanly impossible, that's a lie. It's poor time management. We're all to be blamed. We're all to be held accountable, because here's the thing: we know what we're supposed to be doing as nurses, but the environment is so relaxed nowadays that a massive amount of nurses aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, what they know they've been trained to do, what they know is illegal, what they know is against the Nurse Practice Act. All they know it. But since the environment is relaxed, they just do what they want to do. No integrity. So this nursing field has really changed. Hospitals should allow on-call nurses to sleep at the hospital just like doctors. Who the fuck wants to sleep at a hospital? You got a whole house to take care of. You got a whole house to take care of. The doctors are not sleep at the hospital because they're on call. The doctors are sleep at the hospital because they're at work. They're not on call. They're sleeping because ain't shit going on until they get a phone call. Being on call, after the doctors do they shift, they go home and go to bed. So why should an on-call nurse have to stay in the hospital and sleep? Why can't she go home and sleep in her own bed? What if she doesn't have? What if she never gets called? Now she stayed at the hospital for nothing. It doesn't make any sense. There shouldn't be a such thing as an on-call nurse. The only on-call they should have is management, and that's on call for nursing issues and different things of that nature. That's it. On call for questions, on call for staffing issues, on call, but not on call to come in the doggone building. There should be no on call. These nurses need their damn rest. They need their rest. Anyway, I'm gonna stop that one there. I kind of went long on that one, but yeah, it was amazing to me how that nurse drove off the doggone roof because because she was tired. Basically the other videos that I was gonna go through. They're basically saying the same thing as this nurse said, the bullying. Oh, but this is one of the, yeah, no, basically the same thing. Same thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. But cancel. But my point is that as a nurse, you are supposed to be strong. Now, I know sometimes you're not going to come into the nursing field as this completely well-rounded strong nurse. No. You're going to have some weak areas. But it's up to you as the nurse to work on those weak areas so that you won't be a weak link. So, my thing is LPNs can start HEP locks and they can hang IVs, right? They just can't do IV pushes and hang blood products. Anything else they can pretty much do, and they can't push heparin, right? So you're working at a nursing facility, skilled nursing facility, and you will have 95% of the LPNs are not IV certified. And none of the LPNs on your shift are IV certified. So they can't help you do jack crap as far as IVs. And on top of that, you have a nurse that calls off. You have a med nurse that calls off. So you, as the charge nurse slash supervisor, now you have to pass meds in addition to hanging IVs, because none of the nurses on the floor are IV certified. So you can't even delegate that task to them. So now you got to be the charge nurse, a med nurse, and the IV nurse, and all the other nurses, and you can't delegate the IVs. You can't delegate them to do their own IVs because they're not IV certified. So now you have all this responsibility on the shift. So in my interpretation, those are weak links. They're weak links. Like, if all you could do is pass meds and you're not IV certified, like, how are you going to help your charge nurse? How are you going to help your supervisor? If your supervisor has to get on the floor, you can't. I consider those to be weak, not the weakest links in the building, but they're weak links. Like, how is the facility not requiring you to have your IV certification at least within 6 months? How is the facility, how do you have a whole LPN staff that's not IV certified, and you have not called someone in to IV certify them? You couldn't get a group rate special. But here's the thing with that. No, they don't want a group rate special. They don't want to get IV. They don't want to have these nurses IV certified because now they have increased the nurses' skills, and therefore they can go work somewhere else, whereas they couldn't if they weren't IV certified. So what you have is you no longer have the nursing field no longer sees that helping the nurse progress and better their skills is a benefit to the entire nursing field. What you have now is you have these, whoever it is running things, they're selfish with it. We're not going to help these nurses learn and grow because then they'll just go and work for someone else. Well, hallelujah. You have just turned out some more competent nurses. What's wrong with that? Oh, well, we're not going to be a facility where we're just IV certifying people. Okay, well, come up with some deal. You pay half, we pay half. How about that? Or how about it come a little bit at a time, comes out of everybody's check? Maybe $50 a pay period until they get it paid off. And then if they quit, I guess whatever they owe, they don't get on their final check. How about that? Right? But strengthen your nurses. Strengthen your nurses. And you never know. Some nurses might stay. They might be so appreciative. Like, why would I leave this place when they helped me get my IV certification? Like, why would I go? Like, I was here before I was IV certified. Now I'm IV certified and I can help the company a little bit more. Now I'm stronger as a link. But whoever's running this shit is they're distorted in their views. They got some kind of issues going on. And no, there's not a shortage of nurses. But anyway, like I was saying, as a nurse, you should try your hardest and do everything possible to be up to par on your basic nursing skills that a registered nurse should have. That means you should be up to par on your meds. You should be up to par on your IVs and whatever that entails. You should be up to par on your assessment skills, right? You should be up to par on your evaluation skills. You should be up to par on your gastrostomy. We'll just say gastrostomy skills, meaning PEG tubes, G tubes, enteral feedings, different things of that nature, whatever and whatever involves the gastrostomy, the stomach. You should be up to par on those. I mean, just up to par on basic skills as a nurse. And if not, you're like a weak link. And do we have time? Do we have time to help with this nursing shortage, right? Do we have time to really mold you into a good nurse if we're short all the time, right? So when you're coming and working in these environments, either you're going to be, if you're weak in certain areas, either you're going to come in there to learn to be better, or you're going to come in to dump your work off on other people or make it harder for the rest of the nurses to have to do your work because you have no motivation to bring your basic nursing skills up to par. So you have to ask yourself this question: am I a weak link? And if you are, you should work to do better and become better. So anyway, how long have I been on here? I've been on here for, let's see. Oh, 3 hours. I don't think I think I've been on here for more than 3 hours, right? 1:30, 2:30, 4:30, 5:30. Yeah. Oh, somebody's not picking up. Let me see. Oh, okay. Well, it says I was on here. I started streaming 3 hours ago. Okay. Well, hopefully, you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. I have some things that I need to do, and I'm going to end my live here. I will be back with some other things that I expressed in my other video, but I just decided I wanted to, like I said, I was out here in these YouTube streets, and I just wanted to address this young lady in her video. I thank her for doing it. I completely understand her plight. But you have to you have to show that you're coming in to help and not be a hindrance, right? Not be a burden. So we're all, like you said, we're all registered nurses, or we're the registered nurses, and therefore we should be conducting ourselves as such, and our nursing skills should be as such. So anyway, y'all have yourself a great evening, and I will see y'all in the future.